Again, Hussein, and welcome to YouTube channel. So in this course, we are going to be learning about Golang programming language from scratch. But before we getting into this course, first of all, I want to say this course does not focus on the web programming in Golang, but instead we are going to be just learning about what a Golang is, why you should care about that, and all about just Golang, like the core features of Golang. So now let's talk about what in the world is Golang and why you should care about that. So Golang is a programming language developed by Google in 2007 and released to the public as open source project in 2009. And it is designed with the focus of simplicity, efficiency, and ease of use. Okay, so that's just the basic definition of what a Golang programming language is. But now you might be saying yeah, this is a programming language which is built by Google. It provides a simplicity and efficiency. Why should I even care about that? Well, to convince you, here are a lot of slides I prepared for you, but I'm not going to waste your time reading all of that stuff right here, because in this course you are going to be learning about every single thing that Golang offers. So first of all, we have a conciseness and simplicity. You can learn more about that right here in the slide, or you can just quick Google search there. The next one we have is the efficiency. Golang provide a lot of efficiency. And we also have a concurrency model or concurrency programming, which we are going to be also covering in this course. The next one we have is a standard library, and Go has an amazing standard library, which we are going to be also exploring in this course as well. The next one we have is a static typing. Yep, totally covered in this course. Then we have a cross-platform compatibility, which means if you build a Go program on Windows, it's gonna also work on Linux and also on a Mac as well, which means you can build your program in one operating system and it's gonna work with all of them. Then we have open source, which means Golang is also an open source programming language, which you can also contribute to that if you wanted to. And scalability. Yep, scalability is one of the best part of Golang programming language. So yeah, that was just a basic theory of what a Golang is. So now if you want to learn Golang, so this course is the only course for you to take. So now let's make a set of 4-hour coding journey. So throughout this course, we are going to need a few things to install in our machine. So then we would be able to work with the Golang programming language. So the first thing we would need is some sort of editor in which we are going to be writing our code. So I will highly recommend you to install the VS Code in your machine, because I can't even say something about VS Code, because VS Code is supremely awesome. And I have an entire course on VS Code if you want to check it out, so feel free to check it out, which is also totally free, by the way, available on my YouTube channel. Anyways, so if you want to install the VS Code, so you gotta go to this link. I'm gonna also give you the link in the description below, but if you want to come to this same link, so I want you to just type code.vscode or visualstudio.com. There we go. So once you do that, it will automatically detect your operating system. But if it didn't, so you just have to click on this drop down icon right here. You can download it for Mac, you can download it for Windows, you can download it for the Linux operating system right here. Okay, so if you're using something else, so yeah, there would be a lot of instruction to follow. Anyway, so that's the first thing. I already downloaded and installed that, so I'm not gonna bother reinstalling that again in this video. I don't want to waste your time and also not mine. The next thing which you have to do is that we have to install a compiler which will compile our code. So in this case, we are working with a Golang programming language, so we need to install the Golang compiler. So I want you to just come to this link, which is just go.dev. If you write there, so you can either click on this getting started button, or you can also click on this download button right here. So if you click on this get started button right here, it will bring you to this page right here, and it will give you the latest version of Go compiler. So you can learn more about that for I don't know, for other tools and libraries. So I'm gonna just click on this button right here. So it will bring me to this page right here. So you can download the Go compiler for Windows, for Mac OS, and for Linux as well, or for any other sources. So in my case, I happen to be using a Windows, so I'm going to just click on this Windows MSI, so it will download my Windows MSI right here. Then it will ask us for location where you want to store that file. I'm going to just click on desktop because I want to store that inside my desktop. I'm going to just click on this save, and it will start downloading right here, and here you can see that file. Alright, so my download is totally complete. Now what I want to do is that I'm going to just double click on this MSI file right here. I'm going to click on next, then accept these agreements, click on next, click on next one more time. You can also specify where you want to install that, but in my case I'm going to just leave it with these defaults. I'm going to click on next, and finally let me just click on this install button. and it will start installing, but I'm gonna have to confirm that. I'm gonna click on yes, and it will just start installing right here. And here you can see my Golang compiler is now successfully installed. I'm gonna click on this finish, and I'm gonna just delete that because I don't need that no more. The next thing which I want to do is that I need some sort of a directory slash folder in which we are going to be writing a lot of our code. So I'm gonna just right click on my desktop. You can create your folder anywhere you like. I'm gonna just create my folder right here, and I'm gonna give a name of like Go Workspace or something like that. Come on, SPACE. Then I'm gonna right click on that, and I already installed my VS Code. So let's just right click on that and open it with a VS Code right here. So it's gonna open that folder inside my VS Code right here. So here you can see I can now see this Go Workspace right here, which means like I open this folder inside my VS Code, and chances are your code array will not look the same like mine because I change a lot of things inside my VS Code. And if you want this same setup, so you can watch my other video on that. Anyway, so that's off topic. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I want to do a few things. I'm going to install a few extensions. Okay, so in your case, if you want to go to the extensions, your code array will look something like this. So I want you to just click on this icon right here. Here you can see that. Let me just zoom in there a bit. Oh my god, if I can zoom there like that. So I want you to just click on that. In my case, it's a bit different, so I'm gonna have to go to extensions. Inside this input field, you're gonna have to just search for Go right here. Okay, so you can just install this extension, and trust me, 11 million people download this extension by the time of this recording. I'm gonna click on that. In your case, it may take a bit of time, but in my case, it installed instantly because I already installed this extension in my machine. The next thing which I want you to do is that I want you to install this extension which is called Code Runner. So just write a Code Runner right here, and then just click on that and click on the install button. And I already installed that, so I'm not going to reinstall that once again. You're going to just see the install button, just click on that, and it will just install it in your machine. Okay, so yeah, that's then. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I want to make a Golang file in which we are going to be writing our code. So I'm going to just zoom in a bit. Now let me just create a file, give a name of like index.go. You can give it any name you want. You can give banana, you can give orange, you can give whatever you want. But I want you to keep in mind at the end, you have to specify this .go extension because it will tell the compiler that we are currently working with the Golang programming language right here. So if I give a name of like index, instead of writing a Go, if I just write JS, so here you can see it is now giving us this JavaScript extension right here, or JavaScript icon to be precise. If I just write like HTML, if I just write CSS, Sass, or anything like that, so which means like we are telling the compiler in which thing or in which specific technology or in which specific programming language we are currently working on. So in this case, you can give it any name you want, but at the end I want you to like never forget that you have to specify this dot and go right here. So if you write that and if you hit enter, so here you can see it will give us this Golang file right here. So the next thing which I want you to do is that I want you to just open your command palette. So how you're going to be opening your command palette? You just have to hit F1 button and it will open your command palette right here. And I want you to just write like go and install and updates right here. So I want you to just select this one right here. First of all, you have to open your command palette. Then you have to write this go install. So it's going to bring you this go install. Let me just highlight there. It's going to bring you this go install / update tools right here. Let me just do that once again. I'm going to open my command palette by hitting F1. Then I'm going to just search for go install right here. And then I'm going to just select this second one, which you can see right here. I'm going to hit enter. And here I want you to just check every single thing. If you check all of them, then I want you to just click on OK. And that's it, baby. It's gonna take a bit of time because it's gonna install a lot of dependencies throughout your projects, but this is just a one-timer thing. Like you have to do that only once. You don't have to install your compiler again. You don't even have to do nothing, but you just have to do all of that step once, and that's it. It's gonna install all of the dependencies. I'm gonna wait for that, and I'm gonna come back in a few seconds. And there we have it. Here you can see all tools are successfully installed, and we are now totally ready right here. So it took a bit of time, but depending upon my internet connection, I'm gonna just close that right here and close every single thing. Next, I'm gonna write a bit of code, but you don't have to worry about any of that code. I'm gonna just write hello. So yeah, there we go. And here you can see this is our first Golang hello world program right here. But that's not it. We have to take care of one small thing. And how in the world we are going to be taking care of that? We have to make a setup for the module in Golang. Do you have to know what a module is at this point? No, you don't have to, but we're gonna have to make a setup anyways, because in your case you're gonna see some sort of a squiggly line underneath this package. So now let's just take care of that. I'm gonna just hold control and press the tilde, so it's gonna open my terminal right here, and then I'm gonna just right click on that, and then I'm gonna just select the panel and click on the right, so it's gonna push my terminal to the right here. Okay, and we don't have to do nothing. Let me just go back. Let me just go back one more time, and here you can see currently I just only have this index.go file and I don't have nothing inside this directory. So how in the world we are going to be creating our go mod file? Well, we don't have to do nothing. Let me just close that. Let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit clear. Let's just zoom in a bit, baby. And here I'm not going to write any crazy amount of commands, and by the way, this is going to be the last command which we are going to be writing in this course. You don't have to worry about the terminal, you don't have to worry about the get stuff, you don't have to worry about nothing. So we are going to be just writing like go mod init, and then we have to give some sort of a name right here. In my case, I'm going to just write like first go or something like that. I'm going to just give a name of like first go. But usually here we have to specify our GitHub repositories, but in my case I'm going to just write like first, or first would be fine. I'm going to just hit enter right here, and what are we getting? We are now getting this go.mod file right here. Okay, so now let me just close my terminal right here, then I'm going to open my go mod, and we don't have nothing, but we just have like module, and we give a name of like first, and we are using this version of Golang right here. And that's it, baby, that's it. So next we are going to be learning about what is this package main and what is this import and what is this function and all of that. So that was it about for the setup of Go. So now let me just discuss what in the world is all of that code doing and why you should care about that. Okay, so now let's just first of all talk about what in the world is package main and why you should care about that. So package main, or you can also say a package declaration, every Go file belongs with a package declaration indicating the package to which the file belongs, and packages are a way to organize your code. Yeah, we're gonna take care of this statement a bit later, but not right now. And they play a crucial role in managing dependencies and code organization. At this point of the course, we didn't even write any code, so how in the world we are going to be organizing our code? We're going to take care of that a bit later, but I want you to just keep in mind is that, yeah, in Golang we do have something called a package declaration, and specifically like what in the world, like what's the point of this package main? The main package is a special and the entry point for the executable program, and packages are often named after the directory they are in, but it's not a strict requirement, so you also have to keep that in mind. Okay, so what in the world is this import from and why you should care about that? So import from or import statement, after the package declaration, you import the packages that your program depends on. Okay, so throughout the course we are going to be learning about a time packages and the sync packages, and there are a lot more. Okay, so in each of the file we are going to be using a lot of packages. So first of all we have to import them inside your program, and then we would be able to use them. Yeah, I know, like it may sound a bit confusing, like what in the world is a package man and what in the world is this from? But I want to just give you a quick idea of what we are currently doing, but we are going to be jumping into all of that in a real great detail, but not for now. This is typically done using the import statement, and the from package is commonly used for formatting and printing. Okay, we are going to also take care of that a bit later. So what in the world is this main function? Functions are a huge topic in Golang, which we are going to be diving into in a real great detail, but for now you just have to keep in mind is that function, you can just think about a function is like a container in which you are going to be writing our code, or you can say like the main function is going to be the entry point of writing almost like maybe 80% of Golang code, or yeah. Anyways, so yeah, this is our structure which we are going to be writing for every single file. So the main function is the entry point for executable programming Go, and it is where the execution of the program begins. Okay, so I want you to just keep these three things in mind, and throughout the course we are going to be learning them, but I want you to just keep them in mind, but at the same time I want you to just remember them. Like, yeah, you don't have to worry about what a packages are, you don't have to worry about what a font is, you don't have to worry about what a function is, but I want you to just keep this syntax in mind, like for each of the file which we are going to be creating throughout this course, we have to write all of that code right here. Like first of all, we're going to be let me just remove that right here, and let me just rewrite this so that you guys can understand everything a bit better. So first of all, anytime we create a Golang file, we're going to be using some sort of a snippet right here, and if you just write this, so it's going to give us a hello world Golang program. What we can do is that we can just write a package. First of all, we have to write a package result keyword, then we have to write a main, and underneath that we have to just write some sort of import, or you know what, first of all, let me just write a func. Okay, so if I just write a func, and then I'm going to give a name of like main, you can give any name to this function. You have to specify main because this one is special. And inside there, if I just write like from.println right here, and if I just write like hello world, if I just write word, and if I save my file, here you can see it's going to automatically bring this import from right here. Okay, so yeah, that error is gone. And now if you want to execute this file, or if you want to run this file, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? We already installed this extension right here. Let me just go ahead and show you that we already installed this code runner extension. So now let me just make a keyword or a binder or a shortcut, whatever you want to call that. So now let me just make a setup for this .run or code runner extension right here. So the first thing which I want you to do is that I want you to open your command palette by just hitting this F1 button. So if you just do that, then I want you to just type like keyboard shortcuts right here. So here you can see we have open keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to click on that, and here I'm not going to do anything else, but I'm going to just write code runner. Okay, so if I just write code runner, then I want you to just double click on this code runner right here. So if I just double click on that, and here inside there, I want you to just provide like any of your shortcut right here, but in my case I'm going to be using shift and enter. Okay, so if I just write shift and enter, and here you can see it will automatically fill that by default. And if I hit enter one more time, so here you can see my shortcut is already bind right here, so I can totally use that throughout all of my Golang files. Okay, so if I just hold shift and if I hit enter, so here you can see it's going to run my file, and it's going to give us hello world right here. There we go. Okay, so if I just write something, oh, you know, I'm not going to write something else because it will confuse you, but I want you to just keep in mind. Okay, so here I'm gonna just hold shift, and if I hit enter, let me just do that once again, and it's gonna give us that hello world right here, or you can say it's gonna give us the result of this file right here. So yeah, that was it about the structure of Golang. Alright, so that was it about for the setup and the structure of the course. Now let's begin our conversation by first of all talking about what in the world are variables, how to create them, and why you should care about them. Okay, so what is variable? So a variable, you can think about a variable is just some sort of a container for storing a data values. That's it, baby, that's it. In Golang, there are two ways to declare a variable. So what are the ways? The first way, we can declare a variable by using the var keyword, and the second is by using this sign right here. Okay, so yeah, we can also declare constants. So this is other topic which we are going to be also diving in. So how in the world we are going to be declaring our variable? Use the var keyword followed by the variable name and type. Okay, so first of all, we have to write the var result keyword. Let me just zoom in a bit. First of all, we have to write this var result keyword. Then we have to give some sort of a name for our variable, and then equal to sign, and then which kind of value we want to store inside our variable right here. Okay, so whether it's going to be string, number, boolean, or whatever. So these are called types, which we are going to be also diving into in a real great detail, but not right now. So if you are declaring your variable by using the var keyword, so you can declare it outside from your main function, or you can also declare it inside your main function right here. Like here you can see I have two variables. The first one, we have a name, and we are storing the value of string and John Doe right here. And the second variable I currently have is a fruit, and I'm just storing the apple right here inside this fruit right here. And if I log that to the console like from.println, and if I just write a name, so it's gonna give us John Doe right here. And if I just write from.println, and if I write like this fruit, so it's gonna give us this apple right here. I know if this is the first time you're writing some sort of a Golang code, or specifically this is the first time you are writing any of the code, may look a bit confusing, but trust me, I'm gonna just show you every single thing throughout this course. Alright, so that was the first way of declaring the variable. Now let me just show you the other way of declaring the variable. And by the way, this is just a theory, but we're going to be also writing all of that code in a few seconds. So here you can see I just write like this package man and every single thing right here. And now if I want to declare a variable by using the punisher sign, one of my instructor call it a punisher sign, but anyways, here you can call it whatever you want to call it, but this is how you're going to be declaring your variable by using this sign right here. Okay, so this is the first way and this is the second way, and you can store the string value, you can store the numbers, you can store the booleans, something which we are going to be also learning throughout this course. Okay, so yeah, now let's learn about assigning the types plus inferring the type or type infer. So here you can see you can also specifically specify the type right here, like which type of data you're going to be storing inside this fruit variable right here. In this case we are storing the value of string right here, so that's why we are now providing this string right here, but we don't have to. I mean, like if you wanted to, you totally can provide this string or int or float 64. We are going to be learning about types in a really great detail, but you don't have to worry about them for now. So here you can see if you just want to store the string value right here, or you can say the character or the English alphabetical value inside this fruit. So first of all, we can also provide a string, and then it's going to be equals to some sort of a mango right here. So this type is a string type, but we can also infer that type, which means like we can leave the type to the Golang compiler to figure out by itself. Like we don't have to specifically specify the string right here. The Golang compiler will figure it out by itself. Okay, so here you can see we have a var result keyword, like you have to specify either a var result keyword or you have to just specify this punisher sign. I'm gonna also call it a punisher sign anyways. Okay, so yeah, here you can see we have to first of all write a var result keyword, then we have to write a user, then we have to just write a equal to sign, and then we have to store some sort of a value. I mean, like the type of this value will be automatically inferred. So you can also say the type is inferred. Here you can see in this time I'm not using the var result keyword, but I'm just writing a number right here, and I'm declaring that number variable by using this punisher sign, and I'm storing the value of 2 right here, and I'm not specifically specifying some sort of a type to it, so that type will be automatically inferred by the Golang compiler, and then I'm logging all of them to the console. The next one we have is a go multiple variable declaration right here. So you can just declare all of your variables and you can assign value to them at one go. So how in the world you are going to be doing that? This one is, if this is the first time you're writing any of the code, it may look a bit confusing, but trust me, I'm going to show you every single thing, but you don't have to worry about any of them. So here you can see we are just writing the var result keyword, and then we are just declaring 5 variable right here. Like we have 1, you can give it any name to them, by the way. Like you are not just limited to write 1, 2 or x, y or fruit or user like that. You can give it any name you want. You can give it your own name if you wanted to. And there are the strict rules which I'm going to also mention in a few seconds, but for now I want you to just keep in mind, like if you want to declare all of the variables at one go, so this is how you're going to do that. First of all, you have to give it some sort of a name, and then you have to specify the comma, and then you have to give another variable name, comma, another, and how many you want, and finally you have to specify the type, like which kind of type of data you're going to be storing inside these variables. So if I just write equal to sign, and if I just write 1, so this 1 will go to this variable right here. Then if I specify 2, this 2 will go to this 2 variable, 3, 4, 5, and so on like that. Okay, so yeah, the next one we have is a go variable declaration in a block. Okay, so you can also declare all of your variables by using these parentheses right here, but trust me, I'm gonna say that I'm not certain about that, but I guess I never use this syntax, but I'm showing you that if somebody cares about that. So yeah, here you can see first of all you have to write the var result keyword, then we have to write the opening parentheses, the closing parentheses, then we have to write a num, and we have to specify, I mean like not a number, the variable name, and then we have to specify the type, like which type of data this variable is going to be holding, and then we can also specify the string type, I mean like the int type, and we can also specify the string type right here. And we're going to come to this slide in a few seconds, but so first of all let me just write some sort of a code so that you at least have some sort of idea like how in the world we are going to be declaring or creating a variables in Golang. So what I want to do is that I'm going to remove every single thing, and I want to write every single thing from scratch just for this specific section. So you already know what we are going to be doing. First of all, we are going to be writing a package, then we have to write a main because this is going to be the entry point for our program. Then we have to write an import, and then write a quotes, and then we have to just write pump. This should be import. And the next thing which you have to do is that we have to write a function. So I'm going to just write a func result keyword, then main, then my opening parentheses, then closing parentheses. Outside from these parentheses, here we are going to be writing a lot of our code. And by the way, there was a comment which I just did. Okay, so now let me just go back. So how in the world we are going to be declaring our variable by using the var result keyword? First of all, we have to write a var. Then we have to give some sort of a name for our variable. You can give banana, you can give it a name of like orange, you can give it the name of like my own name like Hussein. You can give it any name you want. But here what I want to do is that I'm going to just write a number, and in this case I'm going to just write equal to sign, and here I wanted to store the value of 20 right here. But if I hover my mouse over to there, so what are we getting? We are now getting the var, then we are getting the number, I mean like the variable name, and we are now getting the int right here. Why is that? Because in this case we are inferring, like we are leaving the Golang to figure out like which kind of data we are storing inside this number right here. If I hover my mouse over to there once again, so we are now storing the value of int right here. Okay, so now if I want to print this out to the console, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? We are already importing this form package, and I already told you this form package like what it will do for us. Form package is a huge, but for now I want you to just keep in mind is that anytime you want to log something to the console, so first of all we are going to have to import that form package right here, and there are a lot of ways to do that, but this is going to be the first one. First of all we have to import that, and then we have to just write fmt, and then we have to just write a dot, and here we have to write a print and line, a print ln, or you can also set a print line, whatever you want to call that, and then we have to execute that. So if I execute that, so here you can see the definition of what in the world is this from print line. So print ln, or you can also say a print line, format using the default format for its operands, and write the standard output. So spaces are always added between the operands and the new line, and that's a huge story, but you don't have to worry about any of them for now. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just write this number right here. Okay, so if I just write this number, I'm going to copy that at least and place that right here, save my file, and you already know how in the world we are going to be running this code. Let me just go back, and I'm going to just hold my shift key and hit enter. So it's going to give us the result of this 20 right here. I mean like it's going to give us the value of this number, which is 20 right here. If I just hold the value of like 10 or 100 right here, save my file. I mean like you have to save your file. Anytime you make a changes in this file, you have to save the changes, and then you have to hold the shift key and hit enter. So it's going to give you that same result right here. Okay, and if you want to clear the screen out, you can just click on this cross button, whatever you want to call that. So yeah, here you can see what we did is that, let me just remove that from here. What we did is that in this case we declare the variable. So now if you want to assign a value to this variable, so here we have to use the equal to sign, and we have to write like any value we want. Okay, so I'm going to just write 10 in this case, and there we go. This is how we are going to be declaring the variable, and this is how we are going to be assigning a value to our variable right here. Now let me just save that, let me just run there once again. Here you can see it's going to give us 10, but I don't know why it's taking a lot of time. I guess it is compiling our code, that's why it's taking a lot of time. But anyways, so this is how we are going to be declaring a variable by using the var result keyword. And now let's learn about how in the world we are going to be declaring our variable by using this punisher sign, whatever you want to call that, but you can call it the operator, and we have a lot of operators in Golang. Let's suppose, you know what, let me just delete this code, and I'm gonna also delete this code once again. And here you can see we just only have this package main, and we also have this func main right here. And let's suppose if I want to declare a variable by using that punisher sign, so we first of all have to just write a variable name, then we have to hold shift and hit the semicolon button. So it's going to give us this semicolon, then we have to write the equal to sign, and then we can store any value we want. So in this case I'm going to store the value of like, I don't know, 1000 maybe. So it's going to give us an error. Why is that? If I hover my mouse over to that, so it's going to give us like number, or this variable is declared and its value is not used, and this is a compiler error, so that's why it is now giving us this error right here. So how do I know this is an error? I already know that because here you can see these squiggly lines, so it is now telling me like, Hussein, you got some sort of an error, you gotta do something about that. So let's suppose if I just save this file without using this variable right here, and if I hold shift and hit enter, so it's going to give us this command line argument index at this line, and I removed that line's number, sorry about that. But here you can see at this line the number declare and not use, like this variable which you can see right here, I give a name of like number, it is already declared but its value is not used. You have to either use the value of that or you have to remove this number variable from there. Okay, so that's that. If you want to use the value of that, or if you want to log that to the console, so what do you have to do? I'm just asking you a question like, what do I have to do to log this num to the console? You have 3 seconds. 1 2 3. Yep, you got it. So now let me just write print line, and by the way, these are case sensitive. You have to write this p uppercase, and then you have to write the rest of them in lowercase. So print, come on, print and ln, then you have to open your parentheses and close that, and here let me just copy that num and place that right here. Let me just save my file, so it will automatically import this font right here. And now let me just rerun that once again, so it's gonna give us 1000. There we go. And this is the second way of declaring the variable right here. Okay, and you can also provide any value you want, and we are going to be learning about a lot of other things, but not right now. So here are a few rules or convention which you have to keep in mind. So anytime you want to create a Golang variable, so a variable name must start with a letter or underscore character, and this is an underscore character, by the way. Your variable name cannot be start from a number. You cannot provide spaces and all of that. If you want to declare a variable in Golang, so your variable name should start from either the letter or the underscore. You cannot provide anything else than that. Okay, so a variable name cannot start with a digit, like you cannot specify 2 1 variable name 2 4 whatever digit you have. So that cannot fly here because this is a Golang and we are not playing here. And a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores, like you can specify the smaller, the uppercase. You can also specify numbers from 0 to 9. You can also use the underscore. The next thing which you have to keep in mind is that the variable names are as case sensitive. Like if you just write an edge, and if you are logging the uppercase H to the console like uppercase A, so it's going to throw you some sort of error, and I'm going to also show you that in a few seconds. And here you can see you can specify the lowercase, the uppercase, and blah blah blah. And there is no limit to the length of the variable name. You can specify like 1000 line of variable name. A variable name cannot contain spaces, like you cannot split your names by using a spaces, and the variable name cannot be a go result keywords. So go result keywords are another topic which we are going to be also discussing, but you don't have to worry about that for now. So you know what, let me just discuss all of them one by one. Let me just go to the bottom. I don't even know how to catch that. Scroll, there we go. So now let's just discuss all of them one by one. Okay, so unexpected errors, baby. The first one in our list, we have a variable name must start with a letter or underscore right here. Let's suppose if I want to create a variable with the name of like 1 2 num or something like that, and if I just use a Punisher sign, and I'm gonna just write like 20 right here, and if I just log to the console that print line, and let me just copy that and place that right here. Let me just save my file and run that. So it's gonna give us a beautiful error. It's gonna say like command argument syntax error, unexpected num in the argument list, possible missing a comma or bracket right here. No, we are not working with that. Here you can see like that's not valid. Your variable name cannot be start from a number. We can also replace both of them by using the underscore right here. So if I just write this underscore and if I save my file and run that, so it's gonna give you that 20 right here. Here you can see that like that's totally valid, and it's not throwing us any errors whatsoever right here. But if I just write like, I don't know, maybe a dollar sign, if I just write, come on, a dollar sign right here, I'm gonna also write a dollar sign here, and if I save my file and run that, so it's gonna give you that beautiful error right here. And also we cannot split over variables name by using a spaces. So let's suppose if I have a variable name like first space name, and if I just write a Punisher sign of 20 and first I mean like form.print like first and name right here, and if I save that and run my code, so it's gonna give you that error like, yeah, that's not valid and you cannot split that. So how in the world we are going to be achieving this result if we just want to write this first name right here? So we can totally remove this space, and this is how we are going to be writing our code. So if I just run there, so here you can see it's gonna give you 20 right here inside a console, which is totally valid, by the way. Okay, so yeah, we learned a lot about variables, And if you have spare time and you want to come to my GitHub repository, so you will find all of their notes in my GitHub repository. Link will be in the description below, so you can learn about how in the world we are going to be creating a variable by using the var result keyword and this punisher sign, and also this syntax right here. Oh, I forgot to show you one thing. And you know, let me just copy this code right here. Let me just copy this code. I don't even know. You know what, let me just copy this code right here. I don't want to waste your time, so now let me just copy them and place that right here. So you can also create your variables like that. So here you can see we have 1 2 3 4, and let me just also use the 5 right here. If I just write a 5, so that error is gone. So here you can see if I just write like 1, and here I have to specify some sort of value for that. So it's going to take that value from there and it's going to put it right here inside this one variable. Then it's going to take this second value and it's going to put it inside this second variable. Then for the third, for the fourth and fifth and all of that. Okay, so if I just run my code right here, so it's going to give us like 1 2 3 4 5 right here. And we can also specify different values, like I don't know, maybe 10 or 22 or 53 or 124 and 55 or something like that. And if I just run my code, so we are now totally able to do that in one line. So yeah, that's also acceptable, and I just want to show you that. And you can learn more about variables by using these notes, and they will be available in my GitHub repository. So that was it about for the variables in Golang. So that was it about variables, and now let's learn about constants in Golang. So what in the world are constants and why you should care about them? So the const keyword declares the variable as constant. So what in the world is constants? So which means that it is unchangeable and read only. If you declare a variable by using a const result keyword, it will make a constant, which means like you can only provide a value, you can read that value, but you cannot change that. Okay, so if you declare a variable by using either the var keyword or their punisher sign, so you would be totally able to change the value inside there. But if you declare a variable by using this const result keyword, you are not allowed to do that. So their value cannot be changed. You got to keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's just talk about the rules of constants. So the constant name follow the same naming rules as variables, which we already learned, and constant names are usually written in the uppercase letter, but that's not a hard requirement. Like, it's not going to throw you some sort of an error if you just write that in uppercase. But anyways, and constants can be declared both inside and outside from a main function. Okay, so here you can see we are now declaring our constants outside from our function, but we can also declare that inside this function right here. Okay, so now let me just write some code, then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. Now let's just remove all of that code right here. And let's suppose if I want to declare a constants right here, or a constants variable, I'm gonna just call it constants, by the way. So here what I want to do is that I'm gonna just first of all write a const result keyword, then I can give it any name I want, but in my case I'm gonna just write a in this case, and it's gonna be equals to some sort of value like 20. And now let me just log that to the console like form.println, and here I'm gonna just write a, and now let me just save that. Let me just save that and run that. So it's gonna give us this 20 right here inside this console. Why are we getting this 20? Because we are now declaring our variable by using this constant, and we are assigning the 20 value inside there. That's why we are getting this 20 inside a console. But let's suppose if I want to change the value of that, so let's suppose if I just write a and I want to assign new value of 200 right here, so it's gonna give you an error, but that error is not that helpful. If I hover my mouse over to that, so it's gonna give us like cannot assign to neither addressable nor an map index expression. That's not that much helpful, baby. It's not JavaScript. That's why we are now getting cool error messages. Anyways, so here you can see it's gonna also give you that same error message right here, which simply means like you cannot change the value of constants. Like once you declare it, you can only read it, but you cannot change it. But let's suppose if I just remove this const from here, and if I just replace it with the var result keyword, so what it will give us. If I hover my mouse over to there, here you can see the var a is now holding the value of int. If I save that and run that, so it's gonna give us 200 right here. Okay, like that's totally that's totally cool if you are declaring some sort of variable by using the var result keyword or using a punisher sign even. Let me just declare one more variable like b, and it's going to be holding the value of 10 right here. I'm going to duplicate this line, and I'm going to also just pass my b right here. Let me just save and run my code. So it's going to give us 200 and also gives us 10 right here. But let's suppose if I also wanted to change the value of this b right here, so I'm going to just write b, then I'm going to use the equal to sign, and let's suppose if I just write like 10,000 or something like that, clear there and run there. So here you can see it's going to give us like 200, and we can totally change the value of that. So that's totally cool. Let me just remove that b's from here. But if you declare a variable by using the const result keyword, that's not acceptable, baby. That's not acceptable. You cannot do that. So yeah, that was just a quick note about constants. But now let me just show you how you are going to be declaring constants at once. I forgot to show you that in the variable section, but now let me just show you that in the constant section right here. So if I just write a const, and then if I just write a pair of opening parentheses and closing parentheses, and inside there we can just write like a will be holding the value of 10, we can also write b will be holding the value of 20, c will be holding the value of like 30, and this list can go on and on. You can specify how many values, or you can declare how many constants you want. So now let me just log all of them to the console. So a, b, c, d. Yep. So I'm gonna just write b, then I'm gonna write c, then d, and finally we have, yeah, I guess we have just these 4 of them. So now let me just save that and run that. So it's gonna give us 10, 20, 30, 40 right here, which is the correct answer to that. So yeah, that was it about constants in Golang. So that was it about for the constants. So now let's learn about the most easiest topic in Golang. So what in the world are booleans, and why you should care about that? So a boolean data type can either be true or false. That's it. So anytime you want to work with some sort of a true value or false value, and by the way, we are going to be using booleans a lot in the conditional statements and the for loops and all of that, but you don't have to worry about them for now. So anytime you want to work with a boolean data type, so for that the boolean can either be true or false. So here you can see we are just declaring 2 variables. The first one we have is Golang programming language. Yep, Golang is programming language, so we set that to true right here. And is HTML a programming language? No, HTML is not a programming language, so we set that to false, and we are just logging them to the console. So now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just remove these constants and also these pumps as well, and I'm going to just write like is Golang programming language, and you can create this variable however you want. I'm going to set the value of that to true, and I'm going to just write fum.println, and I'm going to just pass my variable name right here. And now if I hover my mouse over to them, so what are we getting? We are now getting the type of bool right here. So we are just declaring our variable, and our variable data type is now set to bool because we are storing the value of true right here, or the Golang compiler will automatically infer the type right here, and it will set that to boolean. So I'm going to just remove these empty spaces. Now let me just run that. So here you can see we are going to be getting the value of true right here, and that's totally okay. Now let me just write like is HTML programming language or something like that. Oh, you know what, let me just write is HTML in lowercase and PL in uppercase. That's not a programming language, so we can just write like false. And now let me just duplicate that. Is HTML programming language. Now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us true for the first variable, and it's going to give us false for the second variable right here. Okay, so that was it about booleans in Golang. So that was it about booleans. So now let's learn about numbers and operators in Golang. So what in the world are operators, and how in the world we are going to be working with that? So operators are used to perform operations on a variable and values. So we have a lot of operators. Throughout the course we are going to be learning a lot of them, but for now we are going to be just seeing a few of them, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, increment, and decrement right here. So yeah, first of all, if you want to add 2 numbers, or we are going to be also learning about the strings. Okay, so like, which is called a string concatenation. So for that we are going to be using the plus operator, then we have a minus operator, then we have for multiplication we are going to be using this asterisk or star, whatever you want to call that. For division we are going to be using this slash, and for the modulus operator, or you can say modulo operator, we are going to be using this operator right here, and I forgot to include that right here in this list. Then we have an increment operator, and also we have a decrement operator right here. So let's just learn about these few of them. Now let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. So if we just write like fum.println and we specify like 2 plus 2, it's going to give us 4, We can also work with the minus, we can also work with the times or multiplication operator, and also for the division and for the modulo it's going to give us a 0 because it does not provide any remainder, or currently in this case we don't have any remainder, so it's going to give us a 0 right here. Okay, then we have an increment operator and it's going to look something like this. Okay, so if we just write plus plus, so it will just increment or it will add one number to the existing value right here. So currently we have like 10 value, but if we use like their variable name first of all, and if we use plus plus with that, so it's going to increment over 10 to 11. I'm going to also show you that in a few seconds, but this is just a theory time. Then we also have a decrement operator as well. So here you can see we have the initial value of 10, but if we decrement 1 from that, so it's going to give us 9. Then we have assignment operators, like how in the world we are going to be assigning a value. So we have a equal to sign, so it's going to allow us to add some sort of a value to our variable. Then we have a plus equal to, which will allows us to add some sort of value to a specific variable. And then we have a minus equal to, times equal to, divide equal to, and also modulo equal to. So now let me just write some code and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So first of all, now let's just talk about how in the world we are going to be storing numbers inside our variable right here. So if I just write like var, and if I write like some sort of variable name like in num1, and it's going to be equals to like I don't know, maybe 2000 would be fine. And if I log that to the console by using fum.println num1, and if I save my file, let me just save that, and if I run this code, so it's going to give us the value of 2000 right here. Why is that? Because currently we are just declaring our variable and we are storing the value of this number, and if I hover my mouse over to that, so it's going to give us this integer right here. But if I just write like some sort of a dot right here, this is now a floating point number. If I save my file and if I hover my mouse over to that, so here you can see it's going to give us the float 64 right here. Do you have to worry about that? No, you don't. But if you want to learn more about numbers and the floating point, so we have float 64, we can also have a float 32, we can also have the int 32 and also the int 64 as well. But I'm not going to waste your time on that because maybe you will use them, I don't know, maybe one time or so. So that's why I'm not going to waste your time on that. Okay, so that's that. Now let me just remove that from here. And now let me just show you how in the world we are going to be performing our math operations. So I'm going to just write like fum.println, and I'm going to just write like 2 plus 2. And if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us 4 right here as expected. So now let me just duplicate that, and if I just write minus in this case, so what are we getting if I save my file? So here you can see it will give us an error if I hover my mouse over to that, so it's going to give us this error like identical expression on the left and the right side of the minus operator. Okay, so if I run my code right here, it's going to give us 0, which means like this is totally a-okay, but it's going to tell you like, yeah, you got to keep that in mind, you are just working with a 0 value. Okay, so yeah, it will give us that error. But now let me just fix that to something else like 20 minus 2 or something like that, and if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us 18 right here, which is totally expected. Now let me just duplicate that, and here I'm gonna just write like 20 times 2. So if I run my code, so it's gonna give us 40, and here you can see we are now getting 40 right here. Now let me just duplicate that once again, and I'm gonna just write this what do we call this, slash, or you can say division operator, whatever you want to call that. And if I run my code once again, it's gonna give us 10 right here because we are dividing 20 by 2 people, so it's gonna give us 10. So now let me just duplicate that, and I'm gonna just write my modulo operator, so it's gonna give us 0 because we don't have any remainder left, so it's gonna give us that 0 right here. Okay, so that was just a basic math operation in Golang, and you can do crazy amount of stuff with that, and later in this course we are going to be also seeing all of that stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. But now let me just show you one more thing. Let's suppose if we just declare a variable by the name of like num1, and we can also specifically specify the type of number to that. So if I just write like int 32, and so here you can see we have int 16, 32, 64. So if I just write that 64, and we can just set that to anything we want, so we can just log that to the console, print line. If I just write like num1, save my file, everything will work totally as expected, and I don't know why it took that much long, but yeah, here you can see finally we have that value. So if I just remove that, so it will automatically infer the type by itself. So if I run that once again, and if I hover my mouse over to that, so here you can see it's going to give us the int value right here, which is totally expected. So yeah, that was it about numbers in Golang. So that was it about numbers. So now let's learn about strings in Golang. So what in the world are strings and why you should care about that? So the string data type is used to store a sequence of characters, aka text. So string value must be surrounded by double quotes, like unlike other programming languages. If you are coming from Python or JavaScript or Java, I mean, like, I don't care if you are coming from any other programming language, but on their programming languages, single quotes are totally allowed. But in Golang, that's not allowed, baby. You have to specify double quotes or a backticks. So, which I'm going to also show you in a few seconds. But here you can see if you want to work with a text, or you can say a string, for that you're going to have to first of all write a opening double quotes, and then you have to write your text, and then you have to close that by using their double quotes once again. Okay, so here you can see we have a lot of examples right here. So now let me just write some sort of code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just zoom in a bit right here. So first of all, how in the world we're going to be storing the string value inside our variable. So I'm going to just write name, and it's going to be equals to like Hussein, let's suppose Hussein web dev or something like that. And now let me just write like from.println and name right here if I save my file. And if I hover my mouse over to there, so here you can see we are now getting the variable name, and we are also getting this string right here. Why is that? Because the Golang compiler will infer the type right here, which will see this value. The value is string, so that's why we are now getting the string value right here. Okay, so now let me just run there, and here you can see we are now getting Hussein web dev in the console. So now let me just remove that. That was the first way, or you can, by the way, like, you can specify whatever you want to specify right here. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna just write some sort of a gibberish and run that once again. So it's gonna give us the result of their gibberish, and it is taking a lot of time right now. I don't know, that's because maybe for the compilation or something like that. So now let me just show you one more thing. Let's suppose I want to write like a multi-line string. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? Let me just write hello, and if I hit enter right here, let's suppose if I want to provide some sort of indentation, and like my name is, and if I just write like I don't know, Hussein or something like that, and let's suppose if I save my file, what do you think is going to happen? It will give us an error. So here you can see it's going to give us that error, but you know what, let me just run my code, and here you can see it will give us that error right here, the syntax error. Why is that? Because we are using the multi-line string by using the double quotes right here. That's not allowed, baby. You gotta do something about that. So now let me just take care of that right here. So I'm gonna just remove that, and I'm gonna change the variable name to intro. I'm gonna also paste the intro right here, and now let me just provide my backticks. These are not a single quotes, these are not a double quotes, these are backticks, which will be underneath your escape key and above your tab key in your keyboard. Okay, so now I can totally write a multi-line string right here. So if I just write like hello, let me just provide my indentation like my name is, and now let me just provide enter Hussein right here, and now let me just save that, and now let me run that. So it's going to give us that indentation and also that empty spaces right here. So here you can see we have like hello, my name is, and this indentation and Hussein right here, which is totally a-okay, and that was expected right here. But let's suppose if you are coming from some sort of other programming language, and if I just write like by mistake, if I just write a single quotes, and if I just write like something right here, so here you can see it's gonna give us an error. If I hover my mouse over to there, it's not even giving me anything. If I hover my mouse over to the intro, it is a ruin. This is the other data type. Do you have to worry about that? No. But if I save my file and run that, so it's gonna give us that error right here. Come on, it's taking a lot of time. More than one character in a room, literal. Okay, so that's not allowed, baby. So if you want to work with the strings, for that you have to write either the double quotes, or you can write a backticks right here. So now the next thing which I want to talk to you about is something called a string concatenation, or to put it in simple words, combining two strings. Okay, that was just the English definition, but in programming we call it concatenation, the string concatenation. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? We can just write like greetings, and it's going to be equals to like some sort of a string value like hello. And now let's suppose if I want to combine this other value as well, like I don't know, my name is. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, you already guessed it, we are going to be using the plus operator. So here you can see it will combine both of these strings right here. If I want to combine one more, I can totally do that. Okay, so if I just write like from.println, baby, and greetings, and now let me just save my file and run that, and here you can see it's going to give us like hello, my name is Hussein without a formatting. But let's suppose if I want to provide an empty space right here, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, I can achieve that in two ways. So I'm going to just write my plus once again, and here I'm going to just write a string and empty space right here, and it's going to also gives us the empty space right there. So now let me just save my file and run there. So it's going to gives us that empty space right in here, baby. So that's the first way. But if you wanted to achieve that space once again, so I can just totally remove that. I don't need that, and I can provide my space right here at the end. And now let me just run there once again. So it's going to gives us hello, my name is Hussein right here. Okay, that's totally a-okay. So yeah, this is how you're going to be doing a string concatenation in Golang. So now let me just talk to you about a bit weird topic, but not hard topic. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want you to keep in mind one thing. So if I just write like message, and it's going to be equals to like my name of Hussein, web dev right here. And now I'm going to just write like form.println message. Let me just go back. Let's suppose if I want to access this character right here, or maybe any of the character inside the string. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, for that we can use this backticks right here. Here we have to specify the index, like which kind of character you wanted to get from this string. So let's suppose if I want to get like this h right here. So for that, what I want you to keep in mind is that strings are zero index space, which means like the first letter is going to be starting from the zero index, then 1, then 2, come on, 2, then 3, and all of that. So if I just write like zero index right here, and now let me just save that and run that, so it's not going to give us the expected result right here. Why is that? It's going to give us that 72 right here. Why is that? Because we are using the form.println, and it's going to give us a Unicode value. Okay, so if you want to format that Unicode to the actual value, so for that we can use, instead of writing a print line, we're going to be using the print f right here, and it will format our code. Okay, so but that's not it. For that we also have to write something which I'm going to show you right here. So what I want you to do is that I want you to come to this link, and by the way I'm going to also give you the link in the description below, which is pkg or package.go.dev/format right here. Then I want you to just scroll down a bit, and here you can see we have a lot of things right here. So this is how we are going to be formatting our string. Like here you can see if you just write this modulo operator, and if you just write this v, so it's going to give us the default value formatted right here. We can also provide this pound symbol. By the way, you can learn more about all of that string formatting right here, but in this case we are only interested in this one line right here, which is this percentage sign in C. So what does that mean? The character represented by the corresponding Unicode point. Okay, so we are just only interested in that. So you can learn more about that, and trust me, this is a long list of documentation right here. Do you have to worry about all of them? Of course not, but you have to just learn a few of them, like maybe for the value and also for the indentation and all of that. But anyways, so what I want to do is that I'm going to just write my double quotes right here, then I'm going to specify the comma, and then I'm going to use this percentage sign and C. And if I just write then save my file, and if I run that, so it's going to give us h right here. Okay, so here you can see it's going to give us h right here. Why is that? Because we are now accessing the first element from the string, which is h right here. So that's why we are now getting h. And if I just write like, I don't know, maybe if I just write 1 and save my file and run there, so it's going to give us u. I can specify a lot of them, like I don't know, if I just write like maybe 5 right here. So here you can see we have 0, then we have 1, 2, 3, and also that empty space will be also count, so we have 4, and it's going to give us w right here. Okay, so if I just run my code once again, so it's going to give us that w right here. Okay, so this is how you're going to be accessing a specific element or a specific character from your string by using form.printf, and here you have to format your string, and here you have to specify the index right here. So that's that. Let's suppose if you want to get the length of a specific string, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? I'm going to declare a variable given name of like fruit, and it's going to be equals to mango. Okay, so underneath that I'm going to just write like form.println, and I'm going to specify my fruit right here. And if I just save my file and run that, so it's going to give us mango obviously, but I'm going to just cut that from here, and I'm going to use a built-in function which is called len. And by the way, we are going to be learning a lot of functions throughout this course, but you don't have to worry about what a function is. But you can think about this len is some sort of a way which will give us the length of our string right here. Okay, so let me just pass my fruit right here in this case. If I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here you can see it's going to give us 5 right here. Okay, let's suppose if you have like a huge string, like I don't know, this is my Golang master class or something like that. If I save my file and let me just clear out there once. Come on, what the hell am I doing? Let's just close then. Let me just run there once again. So it's gonna give us the length of this entire string right here, which is 29 characters right here. So this is how we are going to be getting the length from our string right here. Now let's learn about comparing two string values. So let's suppose if you have like a message right here, and that message is going to be equals to like I don't know 1, and then I'm going to just create like message 2, and here in this case I'm going to just specify 1 as well. But if I just write like from.println, and if I just specify like strings dot compare, come on, compare, and if I just save my file, so what are we getting? We are now getting this string right here. Why is that? Because we are using this string and we did not create our string somewhere, so that's why it will just gives us that string from the built-in library. So now let me just show you that. You can search for like, I don't know, if I just hold control and hit K, I guess I'm gonna have to search that manually, or you know what, let me just write strings. And if I hit enter right here, so here you can see it will gives us that string documentation. You can clone a string, you can compare both of the string, you can content, you can check for a specific thing inside the string, and you can count the string, cut, and there are a lot of built-in function right here which I'm not going to be explaining, but in this case I'm going to just explain this compare method or function to be precise. So it takes two parameters like a and b, and both of them will be a string. Come on, let me just go back. Both of them should be a string, and compare returns an integer, and you can learn more about that right here. But you know what, I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm gonna just specify their two values right here. So if I just write like message comma message2 in this case, and if I save my file, let me just go back. Come on, not like that. Let me just go back and run my code, and it's gonna give us a 0 right here. Why is that? Because both of these values are totally matching or comparing, so that's why we are now getting 0. But let's suppose if I just change that to like uppercase O right here, let me just save my file, and now let me just rerun that once again. So what do you think will be the result if I run that? It's gonna give us 1 right here. And why is that? Because this message 2 is now greater than this message 1 right here. That's why we are now getting this 1 right here. But let's suppose if I just write like I don't know, maybe if I just write the S character or something like that, if I save my file and run that, so what do you think will be the result in this case? It's going to give us -1 because this message 2 is now less than this message 1 right here. Will you ever use that? I am not sure. Maybe you will, or maybe you will not, but I'm showing you that anyways, because in some situation you would need to compare both of the strings. So this is how you're going to be comparing that. And by the way, I already show you this documentation. If you have a doubt on something, you can just either quick Google search, or you can search it right here inside this documentation right here. So now let me just remove that right here, and we are going to be checking if the string contains a certain character or characters. Let's suppose if I just write like find char, come on, char, and it's going to be equals to some sort of a character like, I don't know, maybe Golang programming language, baby. And now let's suppose if I want to search for a specific word like maybe Golang. So how in the world we are going to be achieving that? We are going to be just writing like from.println, and here we have to specify that string library which we are already importing right here, and then we have a method inside there which is called contains. So this contains method contains report whether the substring is within S or not. So I know that was a bit awful, but you can learn more about that. You can just quick Google search that. But now let's suppose what I want to do is that I'm going to just specify my find char, which is the variable which we are creating right here. And the next thing which we have to do is that we have to check whether there's something which we are searching is already available inside this find char variable or not. So now let me just write a Golang. Let's suppose if you are searching for this Golang. So what we are doing is that we are just checking whether this Golang is available inside this string or not. So now let me just save that and run that. So it's gonna give us true right here. Why is that? Because this Golang is already available inside the string, so that's why we are now getting true. But let's suppose if I search for like Python or JavaScript or something like that, and if I hit enter right here, it's gonna give us false. So that's that. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to show you a few things, like how in the world we are going to be making a string uppercase, lowercase, or something like that. Let's suppose if we have some sort of a string string 1 right here, and it's going to be equals to like uppercase H and lowercase hello like hello. If I just write like from.println, and if I just specify like and here we have to use that strings library which we are already importing right here, and then we have a built-in method inside the library which is to lower right here, not lowercase like JavaScript, but just to lower, and here we have to specify our string name right here. So now let me just specify the string name, but I'm gonna have to make all of them uppercase. So I'm gonna just write like hello in uppercase. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's gonna make it totally in lowercase right here. Okay, so here you can see we are now specifying in the uppercase, and it's gonna make it in lowercase. But let's suppose if you have like a lot of gibberish right here, like I don't know, this is some random capital text or something like that. If I save my file and run that, so it's gonna make it lowercase. So now let me just show you that, and here you can see this is some random capital text right here, and it will make it lowercase. But let's suppose if we have like lowercase text, like this is, this is some lowercase text, and if you want to make that uppercase, so for that we have a to upper. Okay, so we have this to uppercase right here. If I save my file and run that, so it's gonna make it uppercase. Come on, it is taking a lot of time, but hey, here you can see this is some lowercase text right here which is now in uppercase. Okay, so that was it about strings in Golang, and that was it about a few built-in methods on a strings, and which are coming from this string package right here. So that was about strings. Now let's learn about a comparison operators in Golang. So comparison operators are used to compare two values. Okay, that's it. Like we are going to be just comparing two values by using these operators. So the first one we have is a double equal, or you can say the equality operator. The next one we have is a not equal to. Then we have a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to right here. So here you can see we have a coding example right here. And trust me, this is going to be a bit mouthful for me, but I want you to just bear with me for a second. 2 is greater than 2, that's false. Like 2 is not greater than 2, 2 is equal to 2, so it's going to give us false, and there we go. So here you can see the next one we have is a 2 is less than 2, false. 2 is not less than 2, 2 is equal to 2. And the next one we have is a 2 is greater than or equal to 2, so it's going to give us true right here, like 2 is not greater than 2, but 2 is equal to 2, so that's why we are now getting this true right here. Then we have a 2 is less than or equal to 2. 2 is not less than, but 2 is equal to 2, so that's why we are now getting true right here. And then we have a 2 is double equal to 2, so that's true, so that's why we are now getting true. And then we have a 2 is not equal to 2, so this statement is false, so that's why we are getting false right here. So we are going to be using these comparison operators in the if and else statement, which we are going to be also learning throughout this course, but not right now. Let's suppose we have some sort of a number like number 1, and I'm going to just store the value of 10 inside there. Then we have a num2, and I'm going to store the value of 20 right here. Now what I want to do is that I'm going to just write like form.println. I'm going to just give you like the most simple example right here. So I'm going to just write like num1 is greater than num2. So what I'm currently doing is that here you can see we are just checking, is number 1 greater than number 2? Is this statement correct or not? So what I want you to think about that is like, I'm going to copy then place it right here. So the first value we would have a 10. I'm going to copy this one and place it right here. So the second value we have a 20 right here. So this is what we are doing behind the scene, but these are just a variable names right here. Now let me just save that and run that. So I'm going to right click on that and change the position of that. I don't know what happened there, but it is taking a lot of time. I don't know why, because this is the first time I'm opening my VS Code, and I restarted my computer, so that's that. And guess what? We are getting false right here. Why are we getting false? Because 10 is not greater than 20. 20 is greater than 10, but 10 is not greater than 20, so that's why we are now getting false right here. If I duplicate this line of code and if I change that to less than, like 10 is less than 20, like is that true or not? So now let me just save that, and now let me just rerun that once again. It's gonna give us true right here because 10 is less than 20, so that's why we are now getting true right here. Let me just duplicate that one more time, and here I'm going to be using like greater than or equal to right here. I'm going to save this file, and now let me just run that. So like what we're currently doing is that we are checking, is 10 greater than or equal to 2? So 10 is not greater than 20, but 10 is, oh, no, I'm sorry about that. 10 is not greater than 20, and 10 is also not equal to 20 right here. So it's going to also give us false. So now let me just run that once again. and here you can see it's going to also give us false right here. Now let me just duplicate this line of code, and I'm going to just change that to less than or equal to right here. Now let me just save this file and run that once again. So it's going to give us true right here in this case, because 10 is less than, not equal to, but 10 is less than 20 right here. So that's why we are now getting true right here. Now let me just duplicate that one final or not final time. We have still a few more left, so I'm going to just change that to like double equal to right here. And by the way, this is something I'm using, what do we call it, I forgot the name of that, but oh, there we go. This is something called the font ligature I'm using. So these are just double equal to operators, so I'm just writing like equal to right here. So if I just write double equal to, so it's going to make it like this, but trust me, these are double two equal to operators right here. So now let me just save that and run that once again, and it's going to give us false right here because 10 is not equal to 20. Okay, now let me just duplicate that for a final time, and I'm gonna just write like not equal to operator, so it's gonna make it like this one. So basically what I'm doing is that I'm writing this exclamation mark and then the equal to operator. So if I just remove that space, so it's gonna make it like this one. That's because I'm using the font ligature. Okay, so now if I save my file and if I run there, it's gonna give us true right here because 10 is not equal to 20, or not, let me just say that once again, 10 is not 20, so that's why we are now getting true right here inside the console. Okay, so yeah, that was it about for the comparison operators. You can also write this code like this. I'm going to just remove them, and I'm going to also remove that as well, and I'm going to just change that to 2 and also this one to 2 as well. Now let me just remove these nums from here. Let me just save my file, and if I just run my code, but before I do that, I'm going to have to put a little bit of spacing in there. And now if I run my code, so it's going to give us false, false, true, true, true once again, and false. And yeah, I explained all of that code in this diagram right here. Here you can see that's exactly the same code which I written right here. So yeah, that was it about a comparison operators in Golang. So that was it about a comparison operators. Now let's learn about a logical operators in Golang. So what in the world are logical operators and why you should care about that? So logical operators are used to determine the logic between variables and values. We learned about a comparison operator, and comparison operator will just allows us to compare both values, and logical operator will allows us to check the logic between variables and values. So we have three kind of logical operators right here. The first one we have is an AND operator, then we have a OR operator, and then we have a NOT operator. Okay, so the logical AND operator return true if both statements are true. If one of the statements is false, it's going to make the entire statement false. The next one we have is a logical OR operator, and it will return true if one of the statement is true. So it's going to search for one statement. If like the entire statement is false but one of them is true, so it's going to give us true right here, not a false. Then we have a NOT operator, so it's going to just reverse. If something is true, it's going to make it false. If something is false, it's going to make it true. Okay, so here you can see the coding example. So what we are currently doing is that we are just working with the Booleans. So we are just first of all writing true and true. So here you can see it's going to give us true right here. But if I just write like true and false, it's going to only search for one of the false statement. And if it found one false, so it's going to make like the entire statement totally false. Okay, so it's going to give us false. And then on the other hand, we are now working with the OR operator right here, and it's going to search for only one of the operator to be true. If it found one of the operator to be true, so it's going to give us true. If both of the operator or both of the statement is false, so it's going to make the entire statement false. And here you can see we are writing false, false, so it's going to give us false right here. And here we are writing like true, true, so it's going to give us true right here. If one of them is false, like if I have like false and true, not and, but if I have false or true, so it's going to give us true right here. Okay, so that's that. Now the final one we have is a NOT operator right here, and if something is true, it's going to make it false. If something is false, it's going to make it true. So now let me just write some code, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just go back a bit, and here I'm going to just remove all of that funcs from here, and I'm going to just write like func.println. Inside there I'm going to just write true and true right here. And if I save my file and run that, it's going to give us true right here because this operator is true and this one is also true, so that's why both of them are not true. So it is now giving us the result of true right here. If I duplicate that and if I make like one of them to be false, like false, if I save that and run that, so it's going to make it false. Why is that? Because AND operator will search for this entire statement, but if it found one of them to be false, so it's going to give us the entire result of false. Okay, so you can also just write this code like that. If I just write this one true and if I write this one false, and if I save that and run that once again, so it's going to give us false. And if I just duplicate them, and if I just write like false false, so obviously it's going to give us false because both of these values are now false, so it's going to give us false right here. Okay, so that's cool. Now let me just comment these line out, and the next thing which I want to show you is the OR operator. So I'm going to just write like form.println, and I'm going to just write like true or true right here. And if I save my file and run there, it's going to give us true right here. But if I just duplicate that, and if I just write like false in this case, so what do you think is going to happen right here? If I save my file and run there, it's going to still give us true right here. Why is that? Because this OR operator will search for the entire statement, but if it found one of them to be true, so it's going to make the entire statement true right here. That's why we are now getting this true right here inside a console. But let me just also write this code like that. I'm going to just make this one true and change this one, come on, what the hell, and change this one to false. And if I save that, it will still gonna give us true. And here you can see we are now getting true. But if I just like make both of them to be false, if I save my file, so now here you can see it's gonna give us false right here. And there we have it. Here you can see we have a false, and that was it about for the AND operator and the OR operators. Now let's talk about the NOT operator. So it's gonna just reverse or convert or entire statement. Like if I have something true, let me just write it true, save my file, so obviously it's gonna give us the value of true right here. Here you can see that. But if I just write this exclamation mark, or you can say the NOT operator, so it's gonna just make this true to false. Now if I save my file and run there, so it's gonna give us false right here. But on the other hand, if I duplicate this same line of code, and if I just write like this exclamation mark, and if I just write like false, and if I save my file and run them, so it's going to give us true right here. It's going to make it true in this case. And I want you to just keep these logical operator in mind because we are going to be using that a lot in this course. So now let's talk about the Golang conditional statements, baby. And this is one of my favorite topic. So conditional statement allow you to control the structure of your program. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? There are different ways by which you can control the flow of your program, and if, else, if, and else are one of them. And if, else, and yeah, if, else, if, and else are also called the conditional statements in Golang. And not even a Golang, you can also use them in other programming languages like I don't know, Python, Java, JavaScript, and all of that. If, else, if, else statement allow you to make a decision while your program is running. They are also called a conditional statement in programming. Okay, so how the syntax gonna look like? This is how the syntax gonna look like. So first of all, we have some sort of a if result keyword. Then here we are going to be passing some sort of condition. If that let me just zoom in a bit. Let me just zoom in a bit, and let me just show you that. So whenever we are making a decision in programming, so first of all, we have to write a if result keyword, and which means like a result keyword simply means like keyword which have some sort of a special meaning in their specific programming language. So here you can see I have a if result keyword. Then we are going to be providing some sort of a condition right here. If that condition is true, run this code. If that condition is not true, then it's going to jump to this other condition right here. Here you can see we have an else if block. So if this condition is fail, then it's going to jump to this condition right here, and it's going to check this condition. If this condition is true, so it's going to give us that code. But if that condition is also not true, so then it's going to jump to another line of code. So if you have yet another else if statement, so then it's going to just check that condition, and you can write countless else if condition, which we are going to be also writing throughout this course. It's going to jump to the other condition. It's going to check that condition. If that condition is true, so it's going to give you the result of that. But if that condition is also not true, finally it's going to jump to this else block right here. So finally it's going to print this result right here. I know that's a lot of theory, but here you can see we have a real world example right here. So here you can see we have a password, and we just wrote like this random password right here, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then we are using the length function, which will just gives us the length of this string right here. And so we are checking if the length of the password variable is greater than 7. So if this condition is true, print like valid password. If this condition is false, jump to this else block right here and print this result right here. Okay, so yeah, now let me just write some code and then you will get what I'm talking about, but I way zoomed in. Okay, so let me just clear this terminal, and I guess that's gonna look fine. I'm gonna remove that right here. And what I want to do is that first of all, let me just declare some sort of a variable, and I'm gonna just give a name of like num, and inside there we're going to be storing the value of 5 right here. And now if you want to work with the conditional operators, we only have to just write an if statement right here. Then we have to provide some sort of a condition right here, condition. So in this case I want to provide a condition of like if num is greater than 5, print some sort of a result right here. So which kind of result we want to print to the user? We just want to print like print line, and I'm gonna just say like number is greater than 5 right here. Let me just go back. So if number is greater than 5, print this result right here. But if number is not greater than 5, we can write yet another condition right here like else if, and I'm going to just write like num is num is less than 5. So I'm going to just write like form.println right here, and I'm going to just say like number is less than 5. Let me just write that code, and then I'm going to explain that in a few seconds. So finally number is equal to 5. Come on, 5, there we go. So first of all, we are just declaring this number variable, and we are storing the value of 5 inside there. And then we are checking if number is greater than 5. So print this result to the user like number is greater than 5. If number is not greater than 5, jump to this statement right here and check this condition, which you can see right here. If number is less than 5, so number is less than 5, print this result right here to the user. If both of these conditions are false, so then finally jump to this condition right here. And by the way, you can write a lot of else if condition right here, but in my case I want to just give you a simple example, so I'm not going to go that much crazy, but later maybe I'm going to just build a project and I'm going to show you all of that else if blocks. Okay, so yeah, finally it's going to jump to this else block right here, and it's going to print us a result of number is equal to 5 right here. Now let me just go back, and if I run my file, so what do you think will be the result? If I run my file, so it's going to give us number is equal to 5 right here. Why in the world we are getting this else block result right here? We are now getting this result right here like number is equal to 5. Why is that? Because we are declaring a variable and we are storing the value of 5 inside there. That's why we are now getting number is equal to 5. But if I change that to like I don't know, maybe like 500 or something like that, or 5,000 rather, so I'm gonna just save my file. So in this case it's gonna give us like number is greater than 5. Why in the world we are getting this result? Because number, here you can see that number is greater than 5. Like this is not 5, this is 500 right here, so it's gonna give us this result right here. Why is that? Because this is not 5, this is 500 right here. So it's gonna first of all check this condition. If this condition is true, like if number is greater than 5, so it's gonna give us this result right here like number is greater than 5. And here you can see if I run that once again, so we are now getting like number is greater than 5. And why are we getting that? Because number is 5, like greater than 5. That's why we are now getting this result. So it's going to ignore this line of code, and it's going to also ignore this line of code. So it's going to check this condition if that's true, so run this code. If that condition also fails, so now let me just write like 2 or something like that. And if I save my file and run that, so it's going to only gives us like number is less than 5. Why are we getting this result? Because it's going to first of all check this condition. 5, number is not greater than 5, number is less than 5 in this case. So it's going to first of all check this condition false. Now it's going to jump to this condition like number is less than 5. Yep, this condition match, so it's going to print us number is less than 5. And I hope that helped, but if it didn't, now let me just give you one more example of that same password example. So I'm going to just write a password, and it's going to be equals to some sort of a number like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 or something like that. And here we're going to be checking if, let me just write if, and here you can see it's going to automatically gives us that condition right here. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to just write like len. So len is a function which will gives us all of that count of this string right here. Okay, so I'm going to just write like I don't know, password right here. I'm going to just specify my password. If the length of the password is greater than 7, so what do you want to show to the user? We just want to show to the user like form.println of valid password right here. Okay, so if that's not the case, we are going to be providing yet another condition. So I'm going to just write like if password is equals to empty string, like if the user did not even specify anything at all. So we are going to be just writing like form.println, and we are going to be showing to the user like please provide a password, baby. You got to provide something. Let me just copy and paste that right here. And for the final case, what do you want to show to the user? We just want to show to the user like form.println invalid, come on, password right here. Now let me just go back and let me just explain this code once again. and here you can see we are just declaring a variable and we are assigning some sort of a value to that, and here we are checking if the password length is greater than 7, then print to the user like valid password. If the password is totally empty, then provide this message to your user like please provide a password. And finally, if this condition does not match, and if this condition like else if condition also does not match, then finally show to user like invalid password right here. So what do you think will be the result if I run this code? So it's going to give us a valid password right here. Why is that? Because here we are providing add characters, and that's going to first of all check this condition matches. So here you can see we are now getting the valid password right here. Now let me just clear that. And let's suppose if I didn't specify anything at all, now let me just remove that and save my file and run that. So it's going to give us please provide a password right here, because we did not specify something, or the user did not even specify the password. So we are going to be just showing this to a user like please provide a password. And finally, if I just write like I don't know, maybe 1 2 or 4 something like that, this is less than 7, so this condition does not match. It is not empty, so this condition will not match. Finally, it's going to give us like invalid password. So if I run my code, and here you can see we are now getting the invalid password right here, and which is okay. So that was it about a conditional statement, or you can say the if and else statement in Golang. So now let's talk about a for loop in Golang. So for loop is used to repeat a specific block of code a known number of times. For example, if you want to check the grade of every student in the class, we loop from number 1 to that specific number. And when the number of time is not known beforehand, we use something called a while loop. And spoiler alert, we don't have the concept of while loop in Golang, but I'm gonna still show you how you are going to be achieving that in Golang programming language. So here you can see we have this code right here. Now let me just zoom in a bit. Here you can see we have this code. So first of all, we are going to be writing the for result keyword, then we are going to be providing the initial expression, then we are going to be closing there by using this colon, and here we are going to be specifying some sort of condition. As long as that condition is true, it's going to repeat that code again and again. And here we are going to be specifying either the increment operator or the decrement operator. So we are going to be just making this condition false. So once we make this condition false, the loop will stop working. Okay, so here you can see we have a for result keyword right here. Then we are just providing the initial expression of like I equal to 0. And by the way, this I is a convention in programming in general, but you can provide any name to your variable, by the way. So for I equal to 0, our loop will start from 0. And here we are specifying a condition like if I is less than 5, and then we are just providing like I plus plus to make this condition false. And as long as this condition is true, this code will repeat again and again. And here you can see if we like forgot to include either the I plus plus or I minus minus, so we would get something called the infinite loop, and you don't want that. Okay, so that was just the basic introduction of a for loop. And now let's talk about the continue statement and also the break statement. Okay, so let me just go back once again. So what in the word is continue statement? The continue statement is used to skip one or more iteration in the loop, and it then continues with the next iteration in the loop. So here you can see we have like for result. I know this syntax is a bit advanced, like if you are totally beginner in Golang programming language, but don't worry, I'm going to show you every single thing. So here you can see we have a for result keyword, and then we are just providing the initial expression of like I equal to 0, and then we are specifying some sort of a condition. As long as this condition is true, the loop will run. And then here we are just making a condition false, so we are just breaking out from that loop. And here we are providing if I is equal to 3, then continue, like just skip the I and print the rest of them, which I'm going to also show you, by the way. And then we have a break statement right here, so we can also break out from a specific statement, so you don't have to worry about that. We can also provide a nested loop. So here you can see a nested loop is just a loop inside the other loop. So we didn't even learn about the for loop, like we didn't even write a code for this. So how in the world we are going to be tackling the nested loop? So you know what, first of all, let's talk about the loops in general, then we are going to be jumping into what do we call it, the nested loops. Now let me just zoom in. I'm going to just remove that from here. And the first thing which you have to do is that anytime you want to create some sort of a loop, is that we have to first of all write a for result keyword. And if I hit enter, so it's going to automatically complete every single thing for me, but I don't want that. Let me just write that once again. I'm going to just write a for result keyword, and here we have to specify the initial expression. So my initial expression will look something like this, like x is equal to like we are just declaring our variable and we are assigning the value of 0 to it, and you can give this variable any name you want. So you can write a I, you can write a J, you can write Hossein like my name, you can write your own name, that doesn't matter. But here you have to give some sort of a name for your variable. So this is going to be our initial expression. Then we have to specify the condition. So if x is less than, let's suppose like, I don't know, 10 maybe, so run this loop till 10 times, okay, or run this loop 10 times, and finally we're going to be just writing I plus plus in this case just to make this condition false. Okay, so what I want to do is that I'm not going to write crazy amount of code, but I'm going to just write like form.println of this x. Now let me just go back. So what do you think will be the result if I save my file and run that? It's going to give us crazy result. So here you can see now we iterated from 0 through 9 times right here. But if we just specify the initial expression to 1, let me just provide 1 right here, save my file, and I'm going to also provide a less than or equal to 10 right here. I'm going to just write it there, and if I just run my code, so it's going to start from the 1, it will go till 10 times right here. Okay, so this is just a basic syntax of a for loop. Okay, so we can also write like, I don't know, hello world or something like that. Let me just write like some sort of a string like hello, a word like print hello world 10 times, or maybe whatever times you want, and we are providing I, but we specify the x right here. Now let me just provide the x and save my file and run that. So here you can see it's going to give us like hello world from 0, I mean like from 1 through 10 times right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be repeating our stuff. And by the way, you can also just rename these variable to like j or whatever. So I'm going to just select all of them and convert them to j. Now let me just save my file, and everything will work totally the same. So if you want to skip one of the iterations, so you can also just write an if condition right here. So I'm not going to assume that you will get this syntax, but if you get it, that's totally cool. If you don't get it, so yeah, totally cool, you don't have to get that. So I'm going to just write like I, or you know what, I'm going to just change that to j, because we are specifying that j right here as the initial expression name, and we are going to be just checking if the j is triple equals to like, I don't know, 5. So then we can just write a continue right here. Come on, continue, and here we can just write like form.print, come on, print line like so, and I'm going to just specify that j, and we are writing it 3 times, we need 2 times. Now let me just save that, and let's just remove that ugly space from there and run my code. So it's gonna first of all gives us 1 2 3 4, and where is 5? It just straightly jump into the 6, and we skip that 5 by using this j, or yeah, we skip that 5 by providing this condition right here, and we use the continue right here. So if I just write like a break, if I write break, save my file, and I'm gonna just run that code once again, so it will just run from 1 through 4, but it will not iterate over again, because we are now breaking our loop right here in this conditional statement right here. So yeah, that was it about for the basics of for loops. So now let's talk about a nested loop. So nested loop is nothing much but a loop inside another loop, and this nested loop will be very helpful for you if you want to learn the artificial intelligence and you want to go to the matrix in mathematics. So it's going to be very helpful for you there, but not here. So if you want to just do the basic stuff, so I mean like the nested loop may not helpful that much in this scenario, but anyways, I'm going to show it anyway. So here you can see we are just creating a for loop right here, and we are starting with iteration from 0 through 20 right here, and here we are just writing the separate like outer, and inside this for loop we are just creating yet another for loop right here. So this loop is known as a nested loop, and here we are just writing the name of j, and it's going to be equals to 0, and j is less than, or yeah, I mean like j is less than 10, and here we are just writing inner. Now let me just go back because the result will be a bit crazy. So now let me just save my file, and let me just expand that a bit and run my code. So it's going to give us like outer 0, inner 0, inner 1, and it will just go on and on till 20 times. So now let me just go to the bottom like so. So here you can see like, yeah, it's gonna first of all run this iteration, and inside this iteration it's gonna run these iteration, and that's crazy stuff. And I will highly recommend you to do not waste your time on the nested loops. But if you still want to learn it, so yeah, that was just the basic syntax of a nested loop. So that was it about for the for loop in Golang. So now let's talk about a while loop in Golang. So unlike other programming languages, Go does not have a dedicated keyword for a while loop. However, we can use the for loop to perform a functionality of the while loop. Okay, so a while loop is nothing much, but it will do the same thing like a for loop, but this is just another way or another style of writing a for loop or iteration, whatever you want to call that. So we are not going to be doing anything crazy, but we are going to be just cutting or extracting the initial expression outside from that for loop, and there you have it. And here we are going to be also providing the increment operator or the decrement operator inside this for loop. So this is just a basic syntax of that. Now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just declare a variable. I'm going to just store the value of 1 to it, and you can also give it the name of like I don't know, I or J or whatever name you like. And then I'm going to use my for result keyword, and then here we are going to be passing our condition right here. This area is our initial expression, and here we are going to be passing our condition area, like if x is less than or equal to 20 maybe. And here inside there, what do you have to do? We are going to be first of all providing our code right here. Let me just write code or logic, whatever you want to call that. And then we are going to be finally at the end, we are going to be writing the I++, the increment operator or the decrement operator. So I'm going to just write like form.println, and I'm going to just pass my x right here. And finally, I'm going to just write like x++, and there you have it. Okay, so now let me just save my file. Let me just go back and come on, save my file once again and run that. So it's going to give us from 1 through 20 right here. So this is how we are going to be creating a while loop in Golang. So now let me just give you yet another simple example of a while loop, and then that's going to be it. So now let me just write like I is, I don't know, maybe equals to 0 or initial expression, and then we're going to be using like if or I is less than or equal to 5. So what do you want to do? We just want to print to the console like print line, and I'm going to just write like hello world right here and I. Okay, and finally I'm going to be using like I++. Let me just go back, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us that same result. So it's going to give us like hello world from 0 through 5. And now finally, now let me just talk to you about something called the infinity loop or infinite loop. And I want you to just be aware of that, because it's going to crash your application. So it's not going to hurt your computer, but you're going to have to restart your VS Code for that. Okay, so let me just write that spoiler alert. Come on, don't run this code right here. I'm going to run that for you guys, but you don't have to run that. You don't have to even write this code. So what I did is that I just removed this I++ at the end. So we are not making this condition false anymore. So this loop will run forever or infinite times. So now let me just run that. So here you can see we are now getting 0, 0, 0, and come on, that's a lot. Here you can see it's gonna give us infinite loop right here, and I guess it's gonna crash my VS Code at some point, but I'm not sure about that. So now let me just close that iteration right here. Oh my god, it did crash my VS Code. Ah, god damn. I guess I'm gonna have to stop this recording and then restart that. But oh my god, nothing is working. Like here you can see I want to type something. Oh my god, that's totally slow. I gotta do something about that. But that was it about for the infinite loop and while loop in Golang, and that was a disaster. I had to restart my VS Code and also start recording. Anyways, so what in the world is a switch statement in Golang, and why you should care about that? So you can think about a switch statement is like a brother or a sister of conditional statement, which we already learned, like if else, if and else, and all of that kind of stuff. So this is also another way or another style even of controlling the flow of our programs. So the switch statement allows us to execute one code block among many alternatives. Okay, so here you can see we are just declaring some sort of a variable and we are assigning some sort of a value to that. And then first of all, we have to write a switch result keyword, and here we have to specify the variable name, the opening curly brace, and also the closing curly brace right here. And inside there, we are going to be checking for a lot of cases, like if the case is equal to 1, it is like writing a lot of if and else statement right here. Case 1 match, like here you can see we are providing 8 right here, so it's going to give us the result of no one right here, because we don't even have any case for that. So if case 1 matches, so then only print us Monday. If case 2 matches, then print us Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so now let me just write some code for that, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. And by the way, don't run that what do we call it, that infinite loop. So what I want to do is I'm going to just declare a variable given name of like num, and I'm going to just store 1000 inside there. Okay, so now let me just use my what do we call it, my switch statement right here. So I'm going to just specify switch, and switch is a result keyword in programming, which means like it has some sort of a special meaning to that. And here what I want to do is that I want to register a lot of cases right here. So if case, like if number is greater than 5, so what do you want to do here? We have to specify this colon, and if I hit enter, and it's going to give us that indentation right here, then we have to show to the user like from.println, and we want to show to the user like number is greater than 5 right here. Okay, so now let me just create one more case right here. Let me just provide a little bit of indentation there, and I'm gonna just provide another case like case num is less than 5. So what do you want to show to the user? We just want to show to the user like from.println of number is less than 5. So if this case does not match, so finally, I'm gonna take care of the default state a bit later, but that's it. I'm gonna just save this file, and now if I run my code, so what do you think will be the result? So it's gonna give us like number is greater than 5, because it's gonna just iterate over through all of the cases, and it's gonna check for this condition like if number is greater than 5, so it's gonna give us like number is greater than 5. But if I just change that to like 2 or something like that, so number is now less than 5, so it's gonna give us like number is less than 5 right here. Come on, is something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Let me just check. Yep, here you can see it's gonna give us like number is less than 5 right here. Okay, so that was just a first example of writing a switch statement. Now let me just copy that code, and then I'm gonna explain that in a few seconds, because I don't want to write a lot of cases because it's gonna waste a lot of your time. Now let me just go back, and what I want to do is that here you can see I have a variable, and I store the value of 8 right here. Then we are providing a switch statement right here, and we are providing our day right here, and we are checking for the first case, like if the case is equal to 1, print Monday. If the case is equal to 2, print Tuesday, 3 Wednesday, 4 Thursday, 5 Friday, 6 Saturday, 7 Sunday. So we don't have any 8 days, so it's gonna give us like not a weekday. Okay, so now let me just run my code, and here you can see it's going to give us like not a weekday, because here we first of all specified the 8 right here. Now let me just specify 1 right here, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like Monday, but now let me just specify, I don't know, maybe 5 or something like that, and run my code. So it's going to give us Friday right here. Why is that? Because here you can see we are checking for this case. If this case matches, so then print us the Friday right here. So that was just a basic syntax of working with the switch statements in Golang. So now let's talk about our first data structure in Golang, which is called arrays. So arrays are a data structure which is used to store multiple values of the same type in a single variable, instead of declaring a separate variable for each of the values. And arrays are also zero index based. So yeah, that's the okay. So if you are coming from like, I don't know, any other programming language background, so arrays may look a bit weird to you, but trust me, they are not that much horrible. So first of all, we are just declaring our variable by using the result keyword, and this is the syntax of creating an integer arrays. So first of all, we have to specify the size, like how many items we are going to be storing inside our array. So first of all, we have to make this clear. Then we have to provide a type, like which type of data we are going to be storing inside this array right here. So we are now storing the values of int, so that's why we are providing a data type of int right here, and we are storing like 3 items inside there. And then we are declaring a same variable, or not a same but array2 variable, by using this notation or this sign. So we provide the size of 5, and we are going to be storing the values of integers. So that's why we provide a data type of integer right here. And here you can see we're now providing 5 numbers right here. So now let me just write some sort of a code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's just remove all of that stuff from here. And what I want to do is that I'm going to just create some sort of array right here. So I'm going to use the result keyword and then some sort of a numbers right here. And let me just specify some sort of a size, like maybe 5 of them. And I want to store like integers only. Okay, so now let me just write like from.println. And if I just write numbers, so what do you think will be the result if I save this file? If I save this file and run that, so it's going to give us 0 0 0 0 0 5 times, because we are providing the size, but we are not even writing anything inside this array. But so now if you want to assign a values to this array, so this is how we are going to be doing that. Or you know what, let me just remove this from.println right here. And first of all, we are going to be just providing the name of the variable. Then we are going to be accessing the index, like in which index we want to store our value. Like we want to store something inside the 0, or we want to store something inside the 1 2 3, whichever we want. Okay, so let's start from the first one. So I'm going to just get the index of 0, and we are going to be just writing like 10 right here in this case. And I'm going to just write like from.println of numbers right here, and if I save my file and run there, only add that 10 at the first index right here, and the rest of them will be zeros. Why is that? Because currently we are now accessing the 0 index from this integer array right here, and we are assigning the 10 values to that, or we are assigning the 10 value to that. So that's why we are now getting 10 and 0 0 0. Okay, so now let me just duplicate that a few times, and I'm gonna go ahead and write 1 2 and 3, and I'm gonna just also duplicate that once again, like for 4 of them. And here we're going to be just writing like 20 30 come on, 40 and also 50. And now if I save my file and run that, so what do you think will be the result if I run my code? So it's going to give us 10 20 30 40 and 50. That's because we are now assigning these values to all of that index of that array. But this is the longer way of creating an array. So now let me just show you the shorthand, or the shorter way of creating a not a variable. Why am I saying variable? Come on, arrays. So now I'm going to just write like var pupils. We can also store like different kind of pupils. So first of all, let me just provide some sort of an index. Like we are going to be not an index. First of all, let me just provide a size, like how many people we are going to be storing inside this array. So I'm going to just write like a string, and we are going to be holding the pupils names. So we are going to have to specify the string right here. Now if I want to assign a values to that, so I'm going to use like pupils, and at first index I'm going to provide like I don't know, I'm going to provide myself. And now let me just write like from.println right here, pupils. And now if I save my file, come on, let's just remove these empty spaces from there. Now let me just save my file and run there. So it's going to give us Hussein right here, and it will not give us the rest values. Why is that? Because currently we are storing the values of string, and we are not even assigning anything to that. So that's why we are only getting this Hussein right here, and the rest of them will be, I don't know, maybe empty string, whatever you want to call that. I'm not quite sure about that. So it's not going to add anything. So now let me just duplicate that, and for this first index I'm going to specify like I don't know, John, and for the second index I'm going to specify Jordan or something like that. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like Hussein for the first index, John for the second, and Jordan for the third one right here. So this is how the longer way of arrays looks like. So now let me just remove all of that code, and now let me just write the shorter way of creating that array. So you know, I'm not going to waste your time, but I'm going to just copy this R1. Let me just paste it right here, and I'm going to just use like from.println of R1 right here. So now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us like 1 2 3 right here inside this array. But I can also just specify some sort of a string. So I'm going to write a string, and let's just remove that, and I'm going to specify like Hussein and John and also Jordan or something like that. Let's just go back, and now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us their arrays of people right here. Like we have Hussein, we have John, and we have Jordan. So everything is okay. So that's that. Now the next thing which I want to show you is that how in the world we are going to be getting the length and the capacity from the array. Okay, so we already have that array, but let's suppose if you want to get the length of that array, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, just like a string, we are going to be also writing this length function, and we are going to be just specifying our array right here. So if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us 3, because currently we are just only storing these 3 peoples right here. So that's why we are now getting the result or the response of 3 right here. Come on, what the hell am I doing? Let's just go back, and now let me just also show you the capacity. So we have another function for that, or a built-in function for that, which is called a cap, baby. Don't cap. So if I run that, so it's going to give us the capacity of 3 right here, which is also totally correct. And finally, let me just show you how in the world we are going to be iterating over through this array, and we are going to be accessing the items and also the indexes by using the for by using the for loop. So I'm going to just write a for, and here we have to specify some sort of a variable for the initial expression, and it will be set to 0, and then we have to write like item is less than length of that array right here. So I'm going to just specify array 1, and finally we just have to iterate over through that item like I++, and finally now let me just write like from.println, and I'm going to just specify that item right here. So if I just specify that item and save my file, so it's going to give us 0 1 2 items right here. But if I also want to access these items which are currently inside this arrays, so what I want to do is I'm going to just specify the array name like array 1, and here we have to write an opening bracket and closing bracket, and inside there we're going to be specifying that item which we are declaring right here. So now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us like Hussein, John, and also the Jordan. So we can also format this string a bit. So I'm going to just write like comma there, and I'm gonna just say like oh, you know, let me just put that item right here. What the hell? Save my file. So it's gonna give us like, it's gonna give us the index and also the actual value inside that array right here. So yeah, that was arrays, and that was our first data structure in Golang. So now let's talk about the next data structure, which is called slices in Golang. So slices are also used to store multiple values of the same type in a single variable. However, unlike arrays, the length of the slice can grow and shrink as you see fit. And there are several ways to create a slices, like by using this notation, or creating a slice from the array, or using the make result, or not a result, but a make built-in function. Okay, so let's talk about this syntax right here, which is totally the same, like not totally the same like arrays, but yeah, here you can see we are going to be first of all providing these brackets. Then we have to specify the type of data which we are going to be providing for our slice, and also we can check the length, we can check the capacity, and that's that. We can create for integers, we can create for the strings, we can create for the booleans, and all of that. And now let's talk about the make function, or the make method, whatever you want to call that. The make function will create a zero array and return a slice referring an array. This is a great way to create a dynamic size array. To create a slice using the make function, we need to specify three arguments. The first argument which we are going to be specifying is the type. The second one will be for the length, and the final one will be for the capacity. So here you can see this is how the syntax will look like. So we are going to be first of all calling the make method. First of all, we are going to be specifying the type, then we are going to be providing the length, then we are going to be also providing the capacity as well. We can also check the length and also the capacity as well. So you know what, first of all, let's just start from the basic slices. So let's just remove all of that code from here. Let me just go back, and what I want to do is I want to create a simple slice right here. So I'm going to give a name of like num, and first of all I'm going to use these empty brackets, and then we have to specify the type, and then we have to specify whichever or how many data you want to store inside there. So I'm going to just write like 10, and also comma 20, 30, let's suppose also 40 and 50. And if I just write like println println of num, and if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us like all of their values right here inside this slice, or you can say array. So yeah, this is how we are going to be creating a slice. And if you want to get like all of the item from that slice, so we can just use these columns right here. If I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us all of their values right here. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and all of that. But if you want to just get a specific value, so I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, comment this line out. Like let's suppose if you want to start from this 10 until 40, so we are going to be just writing like I don't know, I'm going to just specify like 1 right here, and 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to just specify 4 right here. Let me just save my file and run there. So it's going to ignore the first one, which is 10. You can specify 0 right here, so then it will not ignore that. I forgot to tell you, like this is also a 0 index space. So now let me just save my file and run there once again. So here you can see it's going to give us like 10, 20, 30, and 40. And we can also get like I don't know, we can get like all of the items at once. So I'm going to just provide like, I don't know, for the third one, and we're going to be just starting from the 0. So I'm going to just save my file and run there. So it's going to give us like 10, 20, and 30. And let's suppose if you just want to get the rest of the item, so I'm going to just specify like I don't know, maybe 3, and we want to get all of the item starting from the 3, the third index. So we have 0, 1, 2, and this one is a third one. So you know, I'm going to specify 2 index right here, save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like 30, 40, and 50 right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating slice, and this is how we are going to be assigning a value to a slice, and this is how we are going to be getting a specific item from a slice. Now let's learn about how we are going to be appending a value to a slice. So we have a built-in method for that. So first of all, we have to write a slice name, and it's going to be equals to this append method. Okay, so append will allows us to add some sort of items at the end of the array. So the append is the built-in function, appends element at the end of the slice. Okay, so let's suppose I'm going to just remove this stuff from here, and if I just comment this line out, and let me just write like println and num, let me just save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like 10 and 20. You already know that, but if you want to add something else than that, like later inside our program, so we are going to be just using this append method, and it will add all of that items at the end of this slice right here. First of all, we have to specify in which thing or in which slice we want to append that values. So in this case, we want to append that values to this num, so I'm going to just write num, and then I'm going to specify a comma, and then which kind of values or data you want to append to that method. Okay, so now let me just copy that and place it right here. So we are just adding 30, 40, and 50. So now let me just save my file and let me just run my code right here. So it's going to give us like 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and you can add how many you want by using this append method right here. That's there. Now let me just show you how you're going to be working with the make method. So let's just close that and let me just zoom in a bit right here, and I'm gonna just write like I don't know, num1 right here, and it's gonna be equals to this make method. So it's gonna take 3 parameters. So which kind of parameters it's gonna take? It's gonna first of all take the type, then it's gonna take the length, and finally it's gonna also take the capacity right here. Okay, so now first of all, let's just provide a type to it. So I'm gonna just specify like integer, like we only wanted to store the integer values inside there. The next thing which we have to do is that we have to specify the length. So in this case, I'm gonna just specify the length of 5, and you can specify the capacity, how many you want. So like 20 would be fine in my case. I want to go a bit crazier. So now let me just write like from.println of num1. Okay, so now let me just save that and run my code. So it's gonna give us that same 0, 0, 0s right here. 5 times we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is that? Because here we are specifying the length of 5 right here. So that's why. So now if you want to assign a values to that 0, 0, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, it is totally the same like array. So we have to first of all get the index. So I'm going to just get the index of 0, and it's going to be equals to like some sort of a value, like I don't know, maybe 10 would be fine. Save my file and run that. So it's going to give us the first index will hold the value of 10, and the rest of them will hold the value of zeros. Okay, so that's that. Now let me just duplicate that a few times. So we have 0 index, then we have a 1, then we have a 2, then we have a 3, 30, let's just remove that, and 30, and finally we have a 40 right here. Now let me just save that and print that. So it's going to give us like 10, 20, 30, 40, and the final one will give us 0 by default. But now let me just change that for the fourth one as well, and now let me just run that. So it's going to give us like 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 right here. So yeah, this is how we are going to be working with the slices. But now let me just also show you how we are going to be checking the length of that. So we can use the length function, and we can just write like a num1 right here, and if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us the length of 5 right here. But if I just change that to capacity, and if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us the capacity of 20 right here. Why is that? Because we are now specifying the capacity of 20 right here. That's why we are getting the capacity of 20 inside a console. So yeah, that was it about slices in Golang. I almost forgot to show you one thing, but I realized that, and now I'm showing you that. How in the world we are going to be iterating over through a slice. So now let me just create a people slice right here, and it's going to be equals to like a string, and we're going to be storing some sort of a people's, like let's just provide my own self, because Hosan is Hosan. Let's just provide a John and also the Jordan as well. Now underneath them we are going to be using like for I is equals to 0, and I is less than, or yeah, I is less than the length of the pupils slice which we currently have, and then we are going to be just providing the I++ at the end. So now what we are currently doing is that we are just providing the initial expression, then we are just iterating over through all of the items which we currently have inside our slice, and then we are providing that I++ to just make this condition false. So now I'm going to just provide that pupils, and we want to just get that like that index right here. So now let me just save my file, and now let me just run that, and it's gonna give us, oh, come on, let me just go back, let me just rerun that once again. So it's gonna give us Hussein, John, and Jordan. And let's suppose if you have like, I don't know, maybe 1000 arrays, or not arrays, 1000 people inside this slice. So still, it's going to iterate over through all of that slice, and it's going to print us all of their pupils which we currently have inside this slice right here. The alternative way for writing this code, like for iterating over through the slice, is like this. First of all, we are going to be writing the for result keyword. Let me just zoom in a bit. First of all, we are going to be writing the for result keyword. Then we are going to be just writing the index, like we want to get the index which we can see right here, and we can provide a comma, and then we also need a value right here. So if we just write that, then we are going to be providing this punisher sign, and here we are going to be using a special result keyword which is called a range, and here we have to specify in which thing which we want to currently iterate over through. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this slice and now I'm going to just place it right here, and inside there we are going to be just logging to the console this index and also the value as well. So if I save my file and run there, so it's going to still iterate over through all of the items inside that slice. So it's going to give us the index and it's going to also give us the value right here. Okay, so this is the alternative way of using this same for loop right here, or iterating over through a slice or arrays. Okay, so that was it about 4 slices in Golang. So now let's talk about another data structure which is called maps in Golang. So maps are a data structure that allow you to store a data values in the key value pair. And a map is an unordered and unchangeable collection that does not allow duplicates. So you also have to keep that in mind. And the default value of the map is nil, and this is the structure. Now let me just expand that right here. So first of all, what we are doing is that we are just declaring a variable right here, and then we have to write a map result keyword. Inside there, all we have to specify the types for the keys right here. These are called keys. So we are going to be writing a types in a key format, so that's why we are now writing these values, these keys by using a string. Then we have to provide a type for the values. So in this case, for these keys, you want to store a values of the values of numbers right here. So that's why we have to specify this number right here. Like this string, like this area which you can see inside a bracket, will be for the keys, and outside from this bracket, this area data type will be for the values right here. So these are called the keys and these are called the values. Okay, so you can also specify a new value to that. Like let's suppose if you want to get like Jordan, and for the Jordan you can change the existing value of that to 15 or something like that. And if you want to access a specific item from there, so you're going to have to first of all write the variable name, then you have to write the opening bracket and closing bracket, and then you have to just specify the key name, and it's going to give you the value of that. So now let me just write some code and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove that, and first of all let me just declare a user data variable right here. I'm going to write my map result keyword because currently we are working with a map data structure, and inside there I'm going to just provide a string data type for my keys, and then I'm going to provide the integer for the values right here. Okay, so now I'm going to just write like Hussein, and I'm going to also provide my separator, and I'm going to just use like 20 years old. And now let me just create one more for the Alex, and Alex will be like, I don't know, 18 years old. And now let me just provide for the John, and John will be 27-year-old or something like that. And yep, that's it. But I'm gonna also have to specify a comma here because this is not JavaScript, baby. This is Golang programming language. So now let me just write form.println and provide my user data right here. Let's just go back, save my file and run that. So it's gonna give us all of that data right here. So here you can see we have a map, and inside this map we have a key in unorder right here. Like this is not totally in order. Like here you can see we are providing Hussein at the first index, we are providing Alex at the second, and we are providing John at the end. And here you can see we are getting the result of like Alex of 18, and then we are getting the value of Hussein, then we are also getting the value of John right here, which is totally in unorder. Okay, so let's suppose if you also want to provide a new value to that. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? We are going to be first of all writing the user data variable name right here. Then we have to just write these brackets right here, and inside there we have to provide the property name. Okay, so let's suppose if I want to provide some sort of other value to like, I don't know, Alex. So now let me just copy that and place that right here, and it's going to be equals to like, I don't know, maybe 15 or something like that. And if I just write like form.println, and now in this case I'm going to just write like a user data, I'm going to save my file and run that. So it's going to give us for the Alex, we are now getting 15 right here. In this case we are specifying 18, the initial value we are specifying 18, and here we are changing the existing value which is totally 18, but now we are changing that to 15. So that's why we are now getting 15 right here. So now let's talk about how in the world we are going to be accessing each of the value from this map. So now let me just remove that, and here we don't have to do nothing else, but we just have to write our bracket, and I'm gonna just write Hussein. Now let me just duplicate that 3 times. I'm gonna also get the Alex, I'm gonna also get the John right here. So now let me just save my file, and now let me just run that. So here you can see it's going to give us the value of 24 Hussein, it's going to give us the value of 18 for Alex, and also 27 for the John. Okay, so that's that. Now let's learn about how in the world we are going to be iterating over through that this map right here. Okay, so first of all I'm going to use like that same syntax which I just showed you a few seconds ago. So the for result keyword, and I'm going to just specify that prop like for the property, and I'm going to also specify value, and it's going to be coming from the range and also the user data. And inside there, what do you have to do? We just have to log all of them to the console, like prob and also the value as well. Now let me just save my file. Let me just clear everything out, and now let me just run that. So if I run that, so here you can see we are now getting the property and also the value specifically for that property right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be iterating over through the map. Now let me just give you one more example. And in this case, I'm not going to change a lot of things, but I'm going to just write like, I don't know, new student. Come on, new student data right here. And instead of writing a string here, I'm going to just change that to integer. And for the values, I'm going to just change that to string right here. So in this case, here you can see if I hover my mouse over to that, so cannot use Hussein untyped string constant as an int value in the map. Okay, so I'm going to have to remove that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut these values from here, and I'm going to just provide my separator, and I'm going to provide my values like that. Okay, so that's totally okay, but we have to use this variable name somewhere. So I'm going to just use like form.println like that, and here I have to just specify this new student data right here. So now let me just save my file, and if I run that, so it's going to give us the map of 18 Alex and also the 20 of Hussein and 27 of John. Okay, so yeah, this is how we are going to be working with the maps, and that was it about for the maps in this video. So now let's talk about yet another data structure, which is called struct for short and structure for long. So a struct is used to create a collection of member of different data types into a single variable. So how the syntax will look like, this is how the syntax will look like. First of all, we have to write a type result keyword, then we have to give some sort of a name for our structure, and this is convention, by the way. Like if you want to follow this convention, like you totally can, otherwise the Golang compiler will not throw you an error. So here you can see we are now using the uppercase P and the rest of them in lowercase. So this is a convention. If you want to follow that, so feel free to follow that. If you don't want to follow that, so yeah, it's totally on you. So first of all, we have to write a type result keyword, then we have to write some sort of a name for our structure, and then we have to write this struct result keyword. And by the way, now let me just mention one note for those people who are already coming from the MongoDB and Mongoose. So you can think about a structure or struct as a, come on, as a schema. Anyway, so here you can see inside there we have to specify the property and then a specific type for that specific property right here. Okay, so like the name will be string, the age will be integer, the job will be string, the salary will be integer as well. Okay, so then now we successfully register our struct right here. We have to create an instance of that. So now here you can see we are just declaring our variable and we are providing the type of that struct right here. Okay, so it's going to hold that same types. So if you want to provide a values for all of their properties, like for name, age, job, salary, so we are going to be first of all accessing that by using the dot notation, and then here we have to specify the specific property name, and then we have to write an equal to sign and a specific value based on that type. Like the first one we have a string, so we have to specify the value of string. The second one we have an integer, so we have to specify the integer, and so on and so forth right here. Okay, so yeah, now let me just write some code and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove this data right here, and I'm going to just create a, first of all, my structure right here. Let me just register my structure. So I'm going to just give a name of like type, and if I just write person, so it's not going to throw me some sort of an error, but I'm going to just follow the best practices or the conventions, whatever you want to call that. So I'm going to just make this P uppercase, and here I have to just write a struct result keyword, then my opening bracket, then the closing bracket, and inside there I'm going to just provide like first name, and the first name will be a string, and I'm going to also provide a last name, and the last name will also be a string as well. So now we successfully register our struct right here. So the next thing which I want to do is that I want to create some sort of an instance for that. So I'm going to just declare a variable, give a name of like h for myself, like Hussein, and I'm going to just specify like person right here. Okay, so if I just specify person and if I hit enter, so it's going to make it uppercase, and here inside there we can provide a values for our properties. So I'm going to copy that and place that right here, and as a value I'm going to just specify like Hussein, and for the last name let me provide a last name. For the last name we are going to be just providing the web dev, but I forgot to show you that we also have to specify the commas in there. Okay, so that's then. Now let me just log to the console dash like form.println of h, and now let me just save, come on, print line right here. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's going to give us like Hussein web dev as the values right here. But we can also follow this convention, like we can just create an instance like that, and we can attach a values like that way. So you know what, let me just show you that as well. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just remove all of that stuff from here, and I'm going to just write like h dot first name, and it's going to be equals to that Hussein, and I'm going to also provide h dot last name, and it's going to be equals to this web dev right here. And I forgot to show you one thing, that we are not going to be writing any equal to signs and anything like that. Here we have to just specify the var, and here we can give it any name we want, but in my case I just give a name of like h, and the type will be equals to this struct right here, which we are declaring or creating right here. So here you can see this is how we are going to be attaching values for each of their property which currently this struct has, and this is how we are going to be logging there to the console. So now let me just clear out and run there once again. So it's going to give us like Hussein for the first video and webdev for the last one. So that's them. But now let me just show you how we are going to be working with the nested structure. Do you have to know them? I mean, like, you will use that a lot of time, but if you don't get it at first go, so you don't have to worry about that. You can read the documentations if you wanted to. So now let me just create yet another struct. I'm going to give a name of like programmer, and it's going to be also a struct, so we have to specify that struct. And what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be passing this person struct inside this programmer struct right here. So now this struct is known as a nested struct right here. Okay, so I'm going to just write like is programmer, and this is going to be my own property right here, which I am declaring right now. Okay, so now let me just remove all of that coding from here. And what I want to do is that, let me just zoom in a bit. What I want to do is that I want to declare a variable with the name of h, and you can declare it however you want. And first of all, we have to satisfy this first structure right here. So I'm going to copy that and place that right here. And we're going to be just writing our opening bracket and closing bracket. And inside that, we have to specify the nested structure right here, which we can see right here. So we have to satisfy all of the properties and values for this structure, and then we are going to be satisfying this property right here. So now let me just copy that and place that right here, and I'm going to just write like a person, and in uppercase person like that, because this is a property and now we are providing a value to that. So I'm going to write like first name for the first name. I'm going to specify Hussein. Let me just hit tab, and I'm going to also specify the last name. For the last name, I'm going to just specify the web dev right here. And now I'm going to also provide a value for this is programmer. So I'm going to just place it right here, and I'm going to just set that to true, and let me just provide a value or a comma there. And finally, now let's just use that. So I'm going to use like form.println and h.first name right here. And if I save my file, and I don't know why we are getting this error like unknown field person instruct literal of type programmer. You know what, I'm going to also make this one uppercase as well. So let's just make that uppercase, and here you can see that error is totally gone. So here, first of all, we have to provide a property like that, and then we have to specify each of these values for this nested struct, and their error will be gone. So now if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us Hussein right here for the first one. And I can write like for all of these properties like h.last name, I can write for h.isProgrammer. And now if I save my file, let me just go back and run my code. So it's going to give us like Hussein webdev and true right here. Why is that? Because here you can see we are specifying the value for the first name of Hussein, the last name of webdev, and is programmer. We are now setting that to true, so that's why we are now getting true right here. Okay, so that was it about structures or structs, whatever you want to call that, in Golang. Let me mention one more topic in the structs, which are called anonymous structs in Golang. So now let me just remove that, and how in the world we are going to be creating an anonymous struct in Golang. So first of all, let me just declare some sort of a variable, and we don't have to write a type, we don't have to give it any name we want, but here we just have to write a struct without any names whatsoever. And here you can see we are going to be just providing the name, I mean like the first name, and it's going to be a string, and we can also provide a last name, and it's going to be also a string as well. Okay, so the next thing which you have to do is that we have to specify values for these first name and also for the last name. So I'm going to just write like first name, and the value I'm going to specify like Hussein. You can give it your own value right here, or your own name rather, and I'm going to also specify last name, and it's going to be equals to like webdev right here. So this is how we are going to be creating anonymous struct in Golang. So now let me just execute or get some sort of values from that. So I'm going to just write like first name and also h.last name. Let me just save there and run there. Here you can see it's going to give us Hussein webdev right here, which is totally okay. And this is how we are going to be creating anonymous structs in Golang. Now let's learn about functions in Golang. So a function is a block of statement that can be used repeatedly in a program. And functions are not executed immediately, they are saved for later use and will be executed when they are called. So basically you can think about a function is like some sort of a container in which we're going to be storing a lot of our data, and later if we need that data, so we are going to be just calling the function name and parentheses, and there you have it. Okay, so trust me, it's that simple, but we're going to be learning a lot of different kind of functions in this section. So if you want to create a function, first of all you're going to have to write a func result keyword, then you have to give some sort of a name for your function, and this area is optional. If you want to work with the parameters, you totally can. But if you don't want to work with parameters, like if your function doesn't need a parameter, you don't have to specify any of that parameter right here. So parameters are nothing much, but they're also a local variable. And I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but anyways, so this is how we are going to be creating a function. This is how we are going to be executing our function right here. Or you can say this is how we are going to be registering the function, and this is how we are going to be executing that function, and this is how we are going to be specifying a value for this parameter right here. So you know what, let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove all of that code from here, and what I want to do is that I'm going to go to the top, so you can create your function right here, or you can create it right here. But before I create a function, now let me just save my code, and I'm asking you a question. Do you see a function here? Yeah, obviously you are not blind. Here you can see this is the main function, or you can say the entry point of our Golang program. So now we are going to be creating similar functions like these. So now let me just create a function which will just say hello. So we are not going to do anything crazy, but now let me just show you the syntax of creating a function. So first of all, we have to write a func result keyword. Then we have to give it some sort of a name. So in my case, I'm going to give a name of like hello, then my opening parentheses, and then the closing parentheses. Outside from these parentheses, we have to write an opening curly brace and also the closing curly brace as well. And inside these curly braces, we're going to be writing all of our logic. So in this case, I want to just print to the console like hello from a function or something like that. So now if I save my file, I register my function right here, but I did not use that anywhere inside my program. So if I want to use that, I'm going to just copy the name of the function. I'm going to just place it right here, and I have to write an opening parentheses. I have to also write a closing parentheses as well. So this area have three names. So you can call it running a function, executing a function, or calling a function. So all of that names will be applicable here right here. Okay, so now if I save my file and if I run my code, so it's gonna give us like hello from a function right here. So we are not providing a lot of crazy logic right here, but we are just providing, or we are just printing to the console hello from a function right here. So this is how we are going to be creating a basic function in Golang. Like first of all, we have to write a function result keyword, then we have to give some sort of a name for our function, then opening parentheses and closing parentheses, and this area is known as a perimeter area, and then we have to write a opening curly brace and then the closing curly brace, and this area is known as a function body area right here. Okay, so that was our first function. Now let me just create one more. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just write a func result keyword. I'm going to give a name of like greet to my function, and in this case I'm going to also provide a parameter right here, or you can think about that is like getting some sort of a data or input. So you can also think about that as an input. So here what I want to do is that I'm going to just provide a name right here, and this is known as a local variable right here. And by the way, the name doesn't matter, you can provide any name to that, but in my case I just specifically specified name right here. So this is a local variable, which means like this variable can only be used inside these curly braces right here, not outside from that. Okay, so what I want to do is that I'm going to just write like string. I'm going to create a variable, give a name of like name, and I'm going to also provide a data type of string right here. And now let's suppose if I want to use that, so I'm going to just write like form.println right here. First of all, I'm going to just write a hello, then I'm going to provide my comma, and then I'm going to use my name right here. So this is how we are going to be taking the input from that function or a user, whatever you have, and then this is how we are going to be using that input inside our function body right here. So this is how we are going to be using that. So this is like the most simple example, but later we are going to be also seeing a crazy examples as well. So now if I want to call this function or execute this function or run this function, so for that I'm going to just write like greet right here, and if I just provide these parentheses, it's gonna give us an error if I hover my mouse over to that. So not enough arguments in the call to a greet function right here. Okay, so have empty and want some sort of a string right here. So here you can see we are now providing this perimeter, this area, is known as a perimeter area, and now this area in which we are going to be passing a value for this perimeter is known as an argument area right here. So let's suppose if I want to provide some sort of a name, or I'm going to just specify like Hussein, and if I just save my code, let me just delete this hello function from here because it will confuse you a lot, and I'm going to also remove this execution from there. Let me just save my file and run my code. So what are we getting? We are now getting hello and Hussein right here. So where in the world is this Hussein coming from? This function is taking some sort of an input with the type of string. Then we are providing that input. We are taking that input from this area and we are placing it right here. So that's why if we specify any value to that, it's going to take that value from here, is going to put it right here in this perimeter area, and then it's going to check inside the function body. Are we using this perimeter somewhere inside our code? Yep, here you can see we are using that right here. So let's just place this value right here. So that's why we are now getting hello and Hussein. So now let me just run that once again, and it is giving us some sort of error. So now let me just run that once again. So here you can see we are now getting hello and Hussein in the console. So that's totally okay. But now let me just talk to you about a variadic parameters, or the infinite parameters, whatever you want to call that. So by the way, you are not just limited to write only one parameter right here. You can specify a lot of them, but always keep in mind, like if you register your parameter right here, you have to specify some sort of a value for that. Okay, so what I want to do is that I'm going to just remove this create function from here. Now let me just create another function which will take unlimited amount of parameters. So I'm going to just write like not const func, but let's just create a function right here. I'm going to give a name of like show numbers, and it's going to take a numbers right here, and I'm going to just specify like dot 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 and integer. Okay, which means like you can specify how many numbers you want right here, and then I'm going to just use like form.println. I don't want to do crazy stuff, but now let me just write that numbers right here inside this form.println right here, and now I'm going to copy the name of them, and now let me just place that right here. And what I want to do is that I'm going to just write like 1 2 3 4 5 or 6 7 or something like that. Now let me just run my code. So it's going to give us 1 2 4 5 7, like all of the numbers which we are passing right here inside the argument area, inside as a slice or array, whatever you want to call that. So it's going to give us all of their numbers right here. Why is that? Because here we are using the variadic parameter, or you can say the unlimited amount of parameter, whatever you want to call that. So this function will take the unlimited, like there is no limit. You can specify how many values right here. So yeah, that's them. And by the way, let me just mention one more thing. If you write a comma right here, and if you specify something or another param right here, so it's going to give us an error. That's not cool. Like if you take the unlimited parameter right here, you cannot provide any more parameter right here. If you still want to achieve that same result, you're going to have to cut that from here. You're going to have to place it right here at the beginning, and this statement will be at the end right here. Okay, so we have to also annotate that with a string, or I'm going to also write a string right here. Okay, so that's totally gone, and I hope I am not confusing you. So I'm going to just write like another param, and I'm going to also specify the comma, and I'm going to also render or print my numbers right here. And here what I'm currently doing is that I'm creating a function which will take two parameters. So the first parameter is taking a number, like another param right here. You can give it any name you want, and then the next one, it will take unlimited amount of integers. So I'm going to have to first of all provide a value for this one. So I'm going to just write like in string, because it is taking a string right here, so we have to write a string. So now let me just provide a string and provide a comma, and I'm going to just pass like blah, something like that. And the next one will take like unlimited amount of parameter. You can specify 1, you can specify 1000 even if you wanted to. So now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us like first of all the blah, then it's going to give us that array right here. Okay, so this is how you're going to be working with the functions, and this is how you're going to be registering the function. This is how you're going to be calling, executing, and running your function. But I can do one more thing. I'm going to just remove that another params from here. I'm going to also remove that from here. And now let me just remove that from here, save my file. I don't know why it's not formatting for me, but anyways, now let me just run my function right here. But before I do, I want to do one thing. I don't need that. So now let me just remove this function. I want to create yet another function right here. So I'm going to just create a function, give a name of like show users, and it's going to take only one parameter of string. And I'm going to just write dot dot dot, which means like you can provide unlimited amount of users right here. So I'm going to just make that string. And here what I want to do is that I'm going to just write like pom.println, and here I'm going to just write my s right here. So now let me just use this function somewhere inside my main. So I'm going to just write like show users. I can provide like Alex, I can provide Jordan, I can provide like Roseanne, I can provide I don't know, I can provide anything I want. So now let me just save there. So it's going to also give us all of their users inside this array right here. But I want to iterate over through all of their users, and I want to get the index and also the values as well. So for that, I'm going to just remove that pom.println from here, and I'm going to just write my for result keyword. I'm going to get the index and also the values, and it's going to be coming from, let's just range over through all of their string right here, or their users to be precise. And I'm going to just write like pom.println of I and v like that. I guess that's going to be fine. So instead of writing, yeah, I guess that would be it. So now let me just save my file, and now let me just run there. So here you can see it's going to give us the index, and it's going to also give us their specific value from their index right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating our functions in Golang. Now let's talk about the return statement in a function. So how in the world we are going to be working with the return statement in a function. So now let me just remove this function right here, and this one will be a bit quick because return statements are not that much difficult thing to learn. So I'm going to just create a function. I'm going to give a name of like add. It's going to take two parameters like x as an integer. It's going to also take a y as an integer, and here we have to specify the type for the return value which we are going to be getting from this function right here. Okay, so in this case we are going to be returning the integer, so I'm going to also specify the int right here. And now here I'm going to just write the integer, like return statement, and I'm going to write like x plus y right here. So what in the world are we currently doing? We are now creating a function. It is taking two parameters like x and also the y, and also we are going to be returning some sort of a data or some sort of a value from this function. So we are also writing a type for that return statement right here. So if you were returning some sort of a string value, so then we would be specifying here as a string, but currently we are just returning an integer. So here you can see we're now passing an integer. So what does that return keyword mean? In function, we are not going to be just writing like pom.println, because they would be just a procedure function, and a procedure function is like a function which does not do anything else, like which does not return anything. Anyways, that's other topic, but I don't want to get into that much specifics of it. But here, once we register our function, we have to return some sort of a data or a value from that function. So in this case, we are just returning this expression right here like x plus y, and we are just returning that by using this return keyword right here. So I want you to keep that in mind as well. And I'm going to call this function by using the add parentheses. I'm going to specify 10, 20 right here. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's not going to give us anything because we have to store that in some sort of a variable, because we are returning something from this function. We are not using pom.println, we are returning something from there. So we have to use this function either in some sort of a variable, or we can just use like pom.println. And I'm going to just pass my add function right here. Now let me just save that and run that. So it's going to give us 30 right here. So this is totally working, but we can also store the result of this variable or the function call in some sort of a variable. So I'm going to just write like res, and it's going to be equals to this function call. And now let me just log to the console the result. So now let me just save that. So now let me just cut these empty spaces and save my file and run that. And here you can see it will still gives us that 30 right here. So it's going to add this x value and also this y value as well. So that was it about for the return statement in Golang. So now let's learn about function expressions in Golang. So what in the world are function expressions, and why you should care about that? So when we store a function inside a variable, their function is known as a function expression. So how that's going to look like? So here you can see we have an anonymous function right here, which means like we are not providing any name for this function right here. So we are just declaring a variable right here, and we are just creating a function. This function will take two parameters. Now let me just zoom in a bit. This function will take two parameters like num1 will be integer and also num2 will be integer. This function is going to return the integer value. So that's why we are now writing the integer for this return keyword right here. And here we are just adding both of these variable right here like num1 plus num2, and then we are just storing the result of this function inside this res variable right here. So this function is known as a function expression. So now let me just write some code, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. Now let's just remove that function from there, and I'm going to also remove this one as well. I'm going to create a variable given name of like f. You can give it any name you want, and here I'm going to just create anonymous function, which means like I am not going to be providing any name for the function. I'm not going to even provide any parameters. I'm not going to provide any return statement. And now let me just create something called a procedure. This is a procedure function. Okay, so I'm gonna just write like function expression or something like that. And now let me just execute this function right here. So I'm gonna just write the function name and then these parentheses. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's gonna give us that function expression as a result right here. So that's totally okay. So this function is now known as a function expression. I can also create for the add, so I'm gonna just write like add right here. I'm gonna provide x value and it's gonna be integer, or you know what, that same example like num int, and also num2 will be integer as well, and we are going to be returning the integer value, so that's why we have to specify the integer. So I'm going to just write return of num1 plus num2 right here, and now I'm going to just write, or you know what, let's just log to the console. I'm not working with the JavaScript. I'm gonna just write like pum.println right here, and here I'm gonna just execute this add name. I'm gonna specify 10 comma 20 right here. So now if I save my file and run that, so it's gonna give us 30 right here. And by the way, I forgot to include space here, and now let me just rerun that once again. So it's gonna still gives us that 30 right here as a result, and that's totally a-okay. And this is called a function expression in Golang. So I briefly mentioned the anonymous function, but I know some people will say like, Hossein, what the hell, man? You didn't tell us how to work with anonymous function in Golang. God damn, I gotta stop doing that. That's awful wise. Okay, so here you can see this is how we are going to be creating anonymous function. First of all, we have to write a func result keyword. Then we have to write a opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis, and we're not providing any name for that. So inside that, I'm gonna just write like pum.println right here, and I'm gonna just say like anonymous, I guess is how you spell it, anonymous function right here. And here I'm gonna just execute that right away. So this function is known as the iffy immediately invoke function expression in JavaScript, but I'm not quite sure about in Golang, but I guess in Golang we also call it iffies. But anyways, iffies are known as a anonymous immediately invoke function expression. There we go. So here you can see we're now getting anonymous function as a value, and this is how we are going to be creating anonymous functions in Golang. Alright, so now let's learn about methods in Golang. So a method is a function associated with a particular type. It is a way to define a behavior for a specific type. In Go, methods are declared with a receiver, which is a special type of parameter that appears in the method signature, and the receiver indicates on which type the method should operate. So here you can see we have like a structure right here with the values or the properties of first name and last name. Both of them are string. And this is how we are going to be defining our own method right here. So this area is known as the receiver signature. I mean like the receiver area, or you can say like just receivers or whatever you want to call that. So here what we are doing is that we are just declaring a variable and we are giving it the name of P, and we are providing as a type of this person struct, which we are already defining right here. And then we give a name for a specific method of full name, and it's going to return string. So that's why we provide a string right here. And here you can see we're just returning like p dot first name, which you can see right here, like we are providing that p, which is a local variable, and inside this p we can now access this first name, and we can also access this last name as well. So we are just writing like p dot first name and also p dot last name, and this is how we are going to be providing a values for that. Like we already learned about all of that stuff. So first of all, we have to provide a first name, and we have to specify some sort of a name for that, like a string name, and then we also have to provide a last name, and we have to specify some sort of a last name for that. And now if you want to execute or call our own method, which you already defined right here on, come on, what the hell I did. Okay, so this is how we are going to be doing that. So first of all, we are going to be just declaring some sort of a variable. We don't have to do that, but if you want to do that, so we totally can. Then we have to mention our person in which we are storing the values of first name and also the last name right here. And this is how we are going to be using our own method on there. So now let me just write some sort of a code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to just remove all of that stuff from here. Let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. I'm going to just define my person type right here. I'm going to give a name of like person, and it's going to be a struct. So I'm going to just take a gender as a string, and also the first name will be string. Also the last name will be string as well. And we would also have some sort of age, and the age will be integer. And we would have a profession, and profession will be string as well. And I'm going to also specify like is married, and it's going to be a bool, like a boolean values, whether the user is married or not. So this is how we are going to be defining a struct. So now let's just create a method for this specific struct right here. Okay, so now let me just create a function right here. and first of all we are going to be providing our receiver values right here. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just write my parentheses right here, and inside these parentheses I can declare my own variable. So I'm going to just declare a variable, give a name of like p, and then we have to specify some sort of a type for this p right here. We can provide a string, we can provide a boolean, we can provide any type we want, but in this case I want to provide this type right here, the type of person. So now if I just specify the type of person, now we have to give some sort of a name for this method right here. So I'm going to just give a name of like print info right here, and you can give it any name you want. It's not going to take any parameters. So now inside there we are going to be just writing like form.println, and inside there I'm going to just write like I am, and then I'm going to also specify some sort of a space right here, provide a comma, and let me just do a lot of string concatenation. So I'm going to just write like p dot first name, comma, p dot last name, and comma gender. Let me just write a gender, and here I'm going to just specify the gender right here like p dot gender, and also let me just specify the age as well. So the age, then I'm going to use like p dot age, and I'm going to also provide a profession as well. So profession, and I'm going to just write p dot profession right here, and finally married, baby. If the user is married, so it's going to give us true. If the user is not married, so it's going to give us false. Now let me just save my file. We are just formatting our string like that, and this is how we are going to be creating our method. So now let me just call this person and also this print info as well. So the first thing which I want to do is that I want to satisfy my person struct right here. So I'm going to copy the name of that. Now let me just put that right here. Inside there, first of all, let me just provide a value for the gender, and the gender will be I don't know, male. And I'm going to also provide a value for the first name, and the first name will take the value of Hussein, and I'm going to also provide a last name, and the last name will take like web dev. And now let me just also provide the age, and the age will be set to 20 years old. And for the profession, you already know what I'm doing. I am just a shopkeeper. Okay, so I'm a shopkeeper, so I'm gonna just write a shop keyword as a profession. And is married. Yep, I'm married and I have 4 kids. Let's just change that to false. And all jokes aside, I'm not married and I'm a programmer, not a shopkeeper. I used to be a shopkeeper, by the way, but now everything has changed, and I'm yeah, I can call myself as a programmer. That's totally fine with me. So now let me just anyways, I forgot to show you that this is how we are going to be calling that method which we already declared right here on this specific user right here. So now let me just run my code. So it's going to give us all of their data or all of their information right here. So it's going to give us like hi, or it's not going to give us hi, but I'm Hussein Web Dev, gender is male, the age is 20, and profession is a shopkeeper, and married is set to false. Okay, so you can format that a bit better if you wanted to, but in my case, that's it, baby. That's it. So this is how we are going to be working with methods in Golang. So now let's talk about a callback functions in Golang. So here is a lot of information right here. So I want you to just keep this one sentence in mind. So if a function is passed as an argument to another function, that function is known as a callback function. So let me just say that once again. If a function is passed as an argument to another function, then such type of functions are known as a higher order function. This is a huge topic which I'm not going to be discussing, but if you care about that, so you can quick Google search like what are higher order functions in Golang, and this passing a function as an argument is known as a callback function or a first class function in Golang. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the rest of this stuff, but what I want you to keep in mind is that a callback functions are those functions which can be passed as an argument to another function. So now let me just zoom in a bit and let me just explain this syntax right here. So here you can see we are now creating this function, and here we are passing this function as a value to this function, to this function, and this function is now known as a callback function. So how that's gonna look like, so here you can see we have a add name function right here, which will take 2 parameters. So the first one we have is a name, and it's gonna take like the type will be just string, and then we have a callback, and you can give it any name you want, but in my case I just specifically give it the name of callback because I want you to keep in mind like, yeah, this is a function which can be passed as an argument to another function right here. Okay, so here the type will look something like this, like function is going to return the string. So here you can see we are now passing that function right here, and we are now providing the value of that string right here, and we can just write like, hi, my name is name right here. Anyway, so that's a bit difficult. So now let me just write some code and then you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So, and trust me, it's not a confusing topic to learn, but yeah, it may look a bit confusing at first. Anyway, so let me just create a function right here. I'm gonna give a name of like add name, and it's gonna take two parameters, like name will be string, and it's gonna also take the callback, callback as well. So it's gonna take the callback function, and we have to specify a type for that, like a string, like a callback function as a string. And the next thing which you have to do is that we have to just return like callback, and inside this callback function we are going to be just passing this first parameter function value, parameter value. I'm going to pass it to this second parameter, which you can see right here. So now let me just provide a values for this name and also for this callback as well. So here I'm going to just call this function name like come on, add name. I'm going to just pass it right here, and I'm going to just first of all provide a value for the first name, which is this name right here, which is a string. So we are now writing Hussein, and here we are going to be passing a callback function. Here we are taking that parameter as a callback function. So here if we specify some sort of a function right here, so this function will be known as a callback function in Golang. So if I just write a func result keyword, it's going to take the parameter of like some sort of a name, and it's going to take their parameter name as a string, and we're not going to be returning anything from that, but we are going to be just writing like from.println and hi, my name is, and let me just provide my v, and instead of writing a print line we have to change that to printf, because here we are doing a bit of formatting. And I'm going to also yeah, I guess that would be fine. I'm going to also put a comma and their parameter name right here. So now let me just go back. Now let me just save that, but printf is calls has an argument but no formatting directives. Oh, I am writing a dollar sign right here. I'm going to have to change that to this percentage sign. Now let me just save that. And let me just explain this code once again. First of all, we are just creating a regular function which will take two parameters. The first parameter, it will take a name, and the second parameter, it will take a function. So inside this function we are now calling that another parameter, which this is taking as a function. We are calling that function right here, and we are passing that first parameter to that. And now here if you want to satisfy all of their parameter values, so for the first parameter we are passing Hussein, and for this callback parameter we are now passing this callback function right here. Okay, so now let me just save my file and run that. So it's going to give us this result like hi, my name is Hussein, and there we go. So we are not going to be using that callback function that much, but I want to show you anyways, because I know some people will go to the documentation and they will see like a callback function and they will say like, Hussein, you didn't teach us that callback function, what the hell? So yeah, that was it about a callback functions in Golang. So now let's talk about a deferred keyword in Golang. So what in the world is deferred keyword and why you should care about that? So the deferred keyword is used to delay the execution of a function or a statement until the nearby function returns. In simple words, defer will move the execution of the statement to the very end inside a function. So how that's going to look like, this is how it's going to look like. So here you can see we have a function and we have like hello, then we have a word right here, and we written this word at the top and then we write this hello at the bottom, but we will get some unexpected result. And now let me just show you that. So here you can see I'm going to just remove this coding from here, and I'm going to just create that same greet function once again, like greet. It's not going to take, oh my god, what the hell did I just do? It's not going to take any parameters, but I'm going to just write like form.println, and I'm going to just say like word in this case. Now let me just duplicate that, and I'm going to just write hello right here. And now let me just execute this function. So if I just execute this function and save and run my file, and here you can see it's going to give us a word, and then it's going to give us hello right here. Now if you want to stop the execution for this line, like we want this function to like run all of the rest of the code, but finally run this line of code. So for that we are going to be just writing this defer result keyword right here. So if I save my file and run that, so here you can see it's going to give us hello and word. So let's suppose if you have a lot of operation inside this code, so first of all it's going to take care of all of that operations, and then finally it will execute this line of code right here, and finally it's going to give us like hello and word right here. So yeah, that was it about a deferred keyword, and I know that was totally simple and easy. Alrighty, so now let's talk about a scopes in Golang. So you can think about a scope as like the visibility or the accessibility of things like variable or function in your code, and it's like where the things are known or can be used. So we have a few kind of scopes, like we have a block scope, we also have a function scope, and we also have a package scope. I'm going to just explain these first two, but I'm not going to explain this third one because you don't need that. I mean, like, you do need that, but later in this course we are going to be learning about a package scope, but not right now because it's a bit advanced topic. So now let's just talk about a block scope. So I want you to imagine your code as a series of blocks, like a paragraph in a story. So variable and function are created inside block are known only within that block. So here you can see we have our main function right here. So this main function is our block scope right here. Okay, so if you declare something like some sort of a variable or anything like that, they cannot be accessible outside from this main function. Okay, so here you can see we are now just creating like x variable right here, and we are storing the value of 20 I mean like 10 inside there. And here you can also see we are just declaring a variable, we are just providing a value of 20 right here. Inside this if block, the scope of this y variable is this block right here, but the scope of this x variable is this block of code right here. And I'm going to explain that in a few seconds, but anyways. And now let's talk about a function scope. So function have their own scope, and variable defined in a function are known only within that function. So here you can see we just define a variable, we give a name of like z, and we are just providing the value of 30 inside there. So which means like this variable can only be accessible inside this block of code, not outside from there, but only this block of code right here. And I want you to keep in mind one more thing, which is called perimeter right here. Anything we specify inside this perimeter area will be also a function scope, or you can say a local scope variables right here. Okay, so then we have a package scope. So variable and function defined at the top level of your package have the wider scope, and they can be used across multiple files within that same package. So here you can see we're just declaring like a global variable, and we're just storing the value of 50 inside there. So let's suppose if you have another file and we also want to use this global variable, we can totally do that. Okay, so now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just declare a variable. I'm going to give a name of like m, and I'm going to just store the value of 20 inside there. So if I just write like from.println of this m right here, save my file and run that. So you already know what it will give us. It's going to give us like 20 value right here. That's totally acceptable. But what if I just write a for loop right here? So if I just write like a for I don't know, for I equals to 0 and I is less than 10, I plus plus, and inside there we're going to be just writing like from.println right here. Let me just write from.println, and if I just write my I right here, let me just save my file, let me just go back, and if I run my code, so it's going to give us from 0 through 9 right here, which is totally acceptable. But if I just copy this line of code, and underneath this for loop, if I just place there once again, so we are already getting this error right here. If I hover my mouse over to that, so we are now getting like undefined I in the compiler. Why is that? Because this I variable has the local scope right here, which means like it can only be accessible inside this block of code right here, and anything we write inside this main function can only be accessible inside this main function, not outside from there. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just remove all of that coding from here, and I'm going to just create a function. I'm going to give a name of like add, and let's just provide like x, and also I'm going to provide the y as well. Come on, what the hell am I doing? And let me just write like from, or you know what, let's just return x plus y, and here I'm going to just return two values like int and also the integer. Let me also specify the int type right here and int type for this one as well. Okay, so what's up? Not, oh, come on. This is not a TypeScript, so let's just remove that from here. Now let me just save my file, and here you can see we now declare two variables. So the first one we have is the x variable, the second one we have is a y variable right here, and we are now using that x and y variable right here. So you know what, let me just call this function somewhere. So I'm going to just write like res, and it's going to be equals to this add function. I'm going to provide 10 and 20, and now let me just write from.println right here and this res. So if I save my file, let me just clear out the screen and let me just run there right here. So it's going to give us 30 value, which is totally acceptable. But if I just write like, you know, let me just duplicate this line of code, and if I try to access this x variable and also this y variable right here inside this main function, it's going to throw us an error. So if I just write like x, and let me just duplicate that, and if I just write this y right here, and if I save my file, if I run my code once again, so it's going to give us this error like undefined x and also undefined y right here. Why is that? Because this x and y are only accessible inside this block of code right here, not inside this block of code. Okay, so that was one example. And you know what, I'm gonna just remove this parameter right here and also this return statement from there as well. And I'm gonna just declare a variable, give a name of like I don't know, I'm gonna just give a name of like apple or something like that, and it's gonna be holding the value of, oh come on, and it's gonna be holding the value of apple. And I'm gonna use like from.println right here of apple, and I'm going to just call my function right here. Let's just remove all of that. I'm gonna just write like add right here. I'm not gonna provide anything to that. So now I'm gonna just save my file, and if I run that, so you already know it's gonna give us that apple right here. But if I try to access that apple, let me just copy this line of code and place that right here. So it's gonna give us error right here. So if I hover my mouse over to there, so undefined apple, because this apple can only be accessible inside this block of code, not outside from there. Okay, so yeah, if I just save my file and run that once again, so it's gonna give us like undefined apple right here. So yeah, that was just the basics of scopes in Golang. So now let's talk about pointers in Go. So a pointer in Go is a variable that stores the memory address of another variable. And by using pointer, you can indirectly access and modify the value of a variable whose address is stored in the pointer. So you can create a pointer by using this star symbol, or you can call it the asterisk operator, or whatever you want to call that. And the ampersand operator symbol is used to obtain the memory address of a variable. Okay, so this is the code, and you know what, first of all let me just write some sort of a code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. I don't want to waste your time. So first of all let me just write address, and I'm gonna just set that to 10. And if I just write like from.println, so it's gonna give us that address. You already know that. If I run my code, so come on, it is giving me an error. Let me just run that once again. So it's gonna give us that 10 right here. You already know that. But if I just duplicate this line of code and comment this line out, and if I just provide this ampersand sign, come on, what the hell is that? Okay, there we go. So if I just specify this ampersand and then my variable name, so what do you think it will give us? Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's gonna give us that address right here. Here we discussed that like the ampersand symbol is used to obtain the memory address of a variable, where we specify this 10 value right here. So it's gonna give us that address from our memory right here, from our actual hard drive or hard disk, whatever you want to call that. So this is the ampersand. But now let me just give you one more example by first of all declaring our pointer right here. So I'm going to just declare a variable given name of like x, and I'm going to just specify the value of 20 inside there. And now I'm going to just create a pointer that stores the memory address of a x. So I'm going to just write a var and pointer to x right here. You can give any name you want, and I'm going to use this asterisk operator, or you can say the come on, you can say the star operator, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. So here I'm going to just specify the type of int, and we are going to be getting the data like the actual address. Come on, if I can get my ampersand, there we go. We are going to be getting the actual address of that specific data, and I'm going to just write that x right here, like we are going to be getting that actual data from that x. So now let me just log to the console like from.println right here. Come on, print line right here, and I'm going to just specify my variable name right here. Let me just copy that and place that right here, and let me just also provide a note for myself. So memory address of x. Okay, so it's going to give us the memory address of that x variable, which we already declared, and we specify the value of 20 inside there. Now let me just save my file and run that. So it's going to give us the memory address of that variable will be this right here. So that's that. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I want to print the value and the memory address stored inside that pointer right here. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, we just have to write that from.println once again, and here I'm going to just write like value pointed to by pointer x, or not pointer x but pointer to x right here. So now let me just write like first of all this asterisk operator once again, and I'm going to just specify my pointer variable to x right here. So now let me just save that, and if I run my code once again, and it will give us that value right here. So the value is now currently set to 20. So I want you to just keep in mind like this ampersand will give us the actual address, and this asterisk operator will give us the actual value of this variable right here. But we are now accessing this data indirectly, not directly. Like if you want to access this value directly, so we are going to be using like from.println, and we are going to be accessing directly like this. But in this case we are now accessing the data indirectly right here. Okay, so yeah, that was it about pointers in Golang. So now let's talk about a panic in Golang. So similar to exception raised at runtime when the error is encountered, panic is either raised by a program itself when the unexpected error occurs, or a programmer through an exception on purpose for handling a particular errors. So how that's going to look like, so we are going to be just using this panic method, and we can specify any message we want. So now let me just show you the code for that, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove this coding from here, and I'm going to just declare a function, give a name of like employee, and it's going to take the name, and we're going to be using or asterisk or pointer, whatever you want to call that. It's going to also take the age as an integer, and we're not going to be returning anything from this function. So we are going to be just checking age is greater than 65. Come on, 65. So what do you want to do in that case? We just have to panic. So panic, and we just have to write like age cannot be greater than retirement age right here. Age cannot be greater than retirement age. So this is how we are going to be throwing an exception or panicking or program right here. So now let me just create an employee, so emp name, and the employee name will be, I don't know, John, and underneath that we're going to be also specifying it the age of like, I don't know, maybe in this case I'm going to just specify 72 right here. Now let me just execute my employee function right here, and I'm going to specify the ampersand of employee name, and I'm going to also specify their age right here. And now let me just save my file, and now let me just run that. So it's going to throw their exception right here. Let's just close that. Let me just rerun that once again. So it's going to throw us their exception like age cannot be greater than retirement age right here. And where is this coming from? This is coming from this panic function right here. So yeah, this is how we can handle a particular error by providing a panic function. Okay, so that was it about panic in function. So that was it about panic in Golang function, to be precise. So now let's talk about one of my favorite topic in Golang, which is called interfaces. So an interface is a type that specify a method signature, and it defines a contract of what a method type must have, but it does not provide the implementation for those methods. Instead, the implementation is provided by a concrete type that satisfies the interface. Okay, so here you can see, let's talk about how in the world we are going to be creating an interface. This is how we are going to be creating an interface. First of all, you have to write a type result keyword. Then we have to give it some sort of a name for our interface. Then we have to write an interface result keyword, and inside that all of their magic happens. Not magic, but method signatures right here. So here you can see we are now providing the method signature, and this method is going to be returning the value of string. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating or defining our interface right here. And now let's talk about how in the world we are going to be implementing that interface in some sort of a method right here. Okay, so here you can see we have the struct of dog right here, and which is totally empty by the way. And now we want to create our method right here, and we are going to be providing that same signature which we've already provided right here inside the speaker interface right here. Okay, so here you can see we have the speak method signature right here, and this is how we are going to be creating our method. We are now providing the type, not a type, but we are now providing the parameter of C, and the C parameter will have the type of cat, which we are already declaring right here. Okay, so here you can see we are now providing our method signature, and it's going to be returning a string value, so that's why we provide a string. And here you can see this is how we're going to be implementing for a cat, and we can also implement that for a dog right here. I forgot to show you this one, but both of them are totally the same. Like here you can see we have a type of dog, and which is also totally empty. And here you can see we're now providing a D as a parameter, and we are now satisfying the type of dog right here. And here you can see we're now using that same signature or that same method signature which we've used right here inside our interface, and we are going to be returning the string value from there. So that's why we are now providing that string right here. So here you can see we are now implementing that same speak method for the dog and also for the cat as well. And here you can see we are now creating an announce function that takes any type implementing the speaker interface. And here you can see we're now providing the parameter of speak, or not speak but speaker, and we are now providing their speaker interface, okay, which you can see which we've already declared right here. And then we would be able to use the speaker dot that speak method. So if you want to use that same method like this announce method for, I don't know, for a dog, and here you can see we're now creating the instances for a dog and also for a cat, and then we're going to be passing that instances on this announce method right here. Like for a dog, we are going to be getting the result of wolf. and for a cat we are going to be getting the result of meow right here. Okay, so here you can see we are now taking that parameter of speaker and we are providing that interface type right here, and here you can see we are now providing as a value or as an argument that dog and also the cat, so it's going to give us like woof and meow. So yeah, that was a lot of theory. Now let's just write some sort of a code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let's just create our first interface. So to create an interface, first of all we have to write a type result keyword, then we have to give it some sort of a name. So in my case I'm going to just give a name of like animal, and I'm going to just write an interface result keyword right here. And inside there, here we have to satisfy or provide the method signature. So I'm going to write like get info, and now let's just provide our parentheses, and it's going to be returning the string value right here. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating our interface, and now let's just implement that somewhere. So the first thing which I want to do is that I'm going to create a type of cat, and it's going to be a struct, and inside there we're going to be providing some sort of a properties like name will be string, and also we're going to be providing the color of string as well. So that's that. So now let me just create a method, and for that property we are going to be providing a C, and for a type we are going to be providing that cat struct which we are already defining right here. Okay, so now we have to satisfy our method signature which we've already defined inside our interface. Now let me just copy that and place that right here. And what are we going to be returning from this function? We are going to be returning the string value right here. Okay, so that's that. Now inside this method we are going to be just writing a return result keyword, and I'm going to be using like form.sprintf right here. Okay, so now inside there we're going to be just providing our cat, and let's just provide a bit of formatting like for the cat, and also we are going to be providing a color. Now let me just provide a comma, and we're going to be just satisfying like c.name and also c.color right here. Okay, so that's that. So now let me just save my file. So it's going to auto import this font, and yeah, what's going on? Undefined font. It is already defined right here. Okay, that error is gone. So yeah, this is how we are going to be creating an interface, and this is how we are going to be creating a struct, and this is how we are going to be satisfying that method which we've already defined, or not a method but a method signature which we've already defined inside this animal interface. And yeah, and now the next thing which I want to do is that I want to create an instance of this cat right here. Okay, so I'm not going to be writing a lot of code, but I'm going to just write a lowercase cat, and it's going to be equals to the cat struct, and here we have to satisfy the name, and the name will be like I don't know which kind of cat. I'm going to just provide this name right here, and I'm going to also satisfy the color property as well, and the color will be gray. So yeah, this is how we are going to be creating an instance of our cat. But now what I want to do is that I want to create some sort of a function which will gives us information based on this cat right here, or about this cat, whatever you want to call that. So I'm going to just create a function given name of like print animal, come on, print animal, N-I-M-A-L, print animal info right here. It's going to be taking the parameter of animal, and I'm going to provide the type of this interface right here. So I'm going to copy that, I'm going to place this type right here, and inside there what we have to do, we have to just write like form.println, and inside there we are going to be just providing this parameter right here. Now let me just copy and place that right here, and if I just write dot, so what are we getting? We are now getting this get info method which is already defined or already registered inside this animal interface. So now I can totally use that. So I'm going to just write like get info right here, and now let me just execute that. And now the next thing which I want to do is I'm going to just copy the name of that. Now let me just place that right here, and what in the world is this function taking as a parameter? So here you can see we're now providing the parameter of animal, so like we have to provide some sort of animal for this function. So now I'm going to copy this name or animal, I'm going to place it right here, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to just save my file, and now let me just run my code. So it's going to give us the cat, and the color will be gray right here. So that's that. Now let me just define yet another animal right here. So underneath this method right here, what I want to do, I'm going to define like dog is going to be a struct, and now inside there we're going to be just providing a name of string, and I'm going to also provide the breed in this case, and the breed will be also set to string. Okay, so now let me just copy this exact same method, and I'm going to be just placing that underneath this dog. And what do I have to do? I'm going to just change that to dog, come on, dog, and I'm going to also provide D right here. And instead of providing a cat, I'm going to just change that to dog, and I'm going to also change this one. Instead of writing a color, we're going to be just writing a breed, and instead of writing these C's, I'm going to just change that to C.name. Yeah, c dot name, and also not c but d dot name and d dot breed in this case. So now let me just copy that and place that right here. Now the next thing which I want to do is that I want to create an instance for this struct. So I'm going to also duplicate this line of code. I'm going to just change the name of that to dog, and instead of providing this name, I'm going to provide some sort of a name of like buddy, and instead of providing a color, we're going to be just providing a breed right here in this case, because we are providing the name and also the breed for the dog. So we have to specify the name and also the breed as well. And for the breed, what we have to do, I'm gonna just provide some sort of a breed like, but I don't know why we are getting this error if I hover my mouse over to that. So unknown field breed in a struct literal of type cat. Unknown breed, oh there we go. We have to change this one to dog. Okay, now I'm going to just duplicate this line of code. I'm gonna copy my dog and place it right here. Now let me just save my file. And I guess this was it for the first example. So if I run this code, so it's going to give us like the dog name and also the dog breed right here, and it's going to also give us the cat name and also the cat color as well. Okay, so this is how we are going to be defining interface. This is how we are going to be providing or registering the method signature. This is how we are going to be creating a struct. This is how we are going to be creating a method. This is how we are going to be satisfying or implementing, like the method signature, which we've already defined inside this animal interface right here. So that was example number 1. I'm gonna give you a lot more example right now, but if you care about that, you can totally watch that. But if you don't care about that, so you can skip ahead to, I don't know, maybe generics or maybe the concurrent Golang. Alright, so now let me just give you yet another example, which will be for a describer interface. So I'm gonna just create an interface, give a name of like describer, and come on, describer, there we go. It's going to be also an interface. Inside there we're going to be just providing one method signature like describe, and now let's just execute that. It's going to be also a string right here. Okay, so this is how we're going to be creating an interface. Now let me just create some sort of a person. So person struct, and it's going to take some sort of a name and string. Now underneath this person, what do we have to do? We have to create some sort of a method right here, and I'm going to just provide a p of person type, and I'm going to also provide their describe signature right here. So I'm going to copy them, place it right here and execute that, and it's going to be returning the value of string. So that's why we are now providing a string value right here. Okay, and we're going to be just returning like hi, I am, and let's just plus like p dot name. We are getting this p from this person object right here, or struct to be precise, and we have this name method inside this person struct. So that's why we are now able to use that. Now I'm going to go back. Now let me just create for, I don't know, for a car. I'm going to just write type of car. Let's just give it a struct right here, and it's going to have just only model right here, and model will be string. So yeah, that's there. Now underneath this type, what do we have to do? We have to create a method. I'm going to give a name of like, I'm not going to give it any name, but I'm going to provide a parameter of c, and the type will be car, and let's just use our describe method right here, and it's going to be also returning a string value. And now let's just use like, yeah, this is a, and now let me just add my c dot model, which we currently have inside this car struct, and I'm going to also plus like car or something like that. And now let me just create a few instances right here, or before I create instances, let me just display the description right here for the car and also for their person as well. So now let me just create a function, give a name of like this, come on, display description right here, and it's going to be taking the d as a parameter and describer as an interface right here. We are not going to be returning something from this function, so we don't have to bother providing that interface or return type right here. So I'm going to just print line what do you call it, d dot describe method right here, and I'm going to execute that. So the next thing which I have to do is that I have to create instances for this person and also for this car as well. So now let me just do that real quick. I'm going to just create a person, and person will be a person struct, which we've already defined up above. It's going to take a name of Alice or something like that, and I'm going to also create interface, not interface but instance for this car as well. And it's going to take the model, and let's just provide a model like Toyota or something like that. And now underneath that, we're going to be using this display description right here. Now let me just execute that. And what is this display description taking? It is taking some sort of parameter of d. So now let me just specify as an argument of this person right here. I'm going to copy and place that right here. I'm going to duplicate that, and let me just also provide my car right here. So now if I save my file and run that, so it's going to give us Hi, I'm Alice and this is a Toyota car right here. Okay, so yeah, that was another example. And now let me just give you yet another example. In this one, we are going to be using two methods. So I'm going to just remove all of that stuff from here. I'm going to also clear up this screen. And now let me just create an interface, give a name of like human. And it's going to be an interface right here. And inside there, we have to provide our method signature. So I'm going to just write like a username. And this is going to be a string. We can also provide a profession or something like that, and it's going to be also a string as well. So now we successfully create our interface. The next thing which you have to do is that we have to create a users. So user one, and it's going to be a struct, and inside the struct it's going to take the edge of integer, and it's going to also take the gender as well as a string. And I'm going to just duplicate that and change this one to user two. And it's going to be also taking the gender, it's going to also take the edge, but I'm going to also provide a location for this one, and it's going to be taking a string right here. So now let me just put some comments like interface or define, come on, define interface right here, and create users structs, or whatever you want to call that. And I'm going to also provide the method or methods right here, because we are going to be creating a lot of methods. Let me just define a method right here. It's going to be taking a j of user one type, and we're going to be also providing the profession. Now let's just execute them, and here we are going to be returning the value of string from there. So here we have to just write return, and the user one will be a front end, or developer. There we go. I'm going to just duplicate that right here, change this one to j user one, and I'm going to also satisfy this username right here. I'm going to copy them and place that right here. We're going to be also returning the string from this one as well, and let's just remove that. I'm going to just provide a John right here, and I'm going to also provide a profession right here. Let me just copy them and place that right here, and instead of providing a user one, I'm going to just write a user two right here. Let's just also change this perimeter to a, and here we are going to be providing the profession of like backend. Come on, back, oh my god, back end developer, baby. And let's just duplicate that, and I'm gonna just change this one to the username right here. Come on, the username. And for the username, I'm going to just write a Laura or something like that. So yeah, now we successfully define our interface. We created a structs, we define a method right here, or a method signatures. Oh, not a method signature, because these are method signatures and these are a real method right here. Okay, so yeah, now the next thing which I want to do is I want to create an instance of structs right here. Okay, so inside there I'm going to just write a John, and John will be equals to the user one, and here we have to just provide a gender. Come on, was it taking a gender? Like username is taking the age and also the gender, so I'm going to just satisfy the age, and age is going to be like maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 years old or something like that, and gender is going to be a male. Okay, so now let me just, I'm not going to duplicate that. Now let me just create one more like for a Laura, and Laura will be equals to the user 2, and inside there we have to satisfy the gender, and gender will be like female, and I'm going to also satisfy the age as well, and she will be like 19 years old. And also let's just provide her location like United States of America. And now the next thing which I want to do is that I wanted to create some sort of a function which will print the information about these users. So now let me just create that right here. I can create it right here, but you know what? I'm going to just declare it right here at the bottom. So I'm going to just write like info function, or users info, or information rather, information. There we go. And now let me just create that function. I'm going to give a name of like print info, and it's going to be taking the perimeter of edge, and here we have to define the type of this human interface right here. Now let me just copy that, and I'm going to just place it right here. And the next thing which I want to do is that I'm going to just write like, I don't know, I'm going to use like log print line right here, and I'm going to just say like my name is a let's just provide a space and comma h dot username right here. And now I'm going to execute that, and I am, I am a professional athlete. h dot profession right here, and I'm going to execute this one as well. Now let me just go back. I'm going to cut this function from here, and let me just put that right here. Okay, so now let me just save that, but now we have to define that. I'm going to copy that and place that right here, and first of all we have to provide a John. I'm going to copy that and provide a John. Now let me just comment this line out, save my file and run that. So it's gonna give us like, oh my god, we are getting some sort of error. No, we are not getting any errors. Anyway, so my name is John and I am a professional front-end engineer or front-end developer. Now let me just create an instance of this Laura. I'm gonna copy that and let me just place that right here and provide a Laura right here. Or you know what, this should be in lowercase l because we are writing the variable's name in lowercase, so it should be also in lowercase. Okay, so now let me just save that and run that. So it's gonna give us like my name is Laura and I am a professional backend developer right here. So this one will be for a front-end developer and this one will be for a backend developer, which means like everything is working okay. So yeah, that was just it about the interfaces in Golang. Next, we're going to be learning about generics in Golang. So now let's talk about generics in Golang. So generics in Go provide a way to write a function and data structure that can work with any data type while still maintaining the type safety. That sounds a bit impossible, right? Like we are going to be working with any data type while still maintaining the type safety. That sounds impossible. But trust me, in Golang, that's not, because we are going to be using the power of generic functions. So what in the world are generic functions? This is just a basic definition of what a generic functions are. And generics in Go involves defining a function or data structure with something called the type parameters, which we are going to be seeing in a few seconds. And type parameters are specified inside a square bracket before the function or a type signature. Okay, so we have a bit of code right here, but you know what? I'm not going to explain this code right here. What I'm going to do is that first of all, I'm going to just work with a problem without using generic functions, and then we're going to be refactoring that same problem to use generic functions. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to just create a function right here. I'm going to give a name of like print number. It's going to take the parameter of like item and also the default value right here and integer right here. And I'm going to just return like integer and also the integer as well. Now inside there, we're not going to be doing anything, but I'm going to just return like item and also this default value, like both of these parameter, which we are already specifying right here for this print number right here. Now let me just run this function or execute this function right here. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just write num1 and also num2 right here, and both of these values is going to be coming from this print number right here. For the first parameter, I'm going to specify 10. For the second one, I'm going to specify 20 right here. Now let me just use like from.print line right here. I'm going to specify num1 and I'm going to also provide the num2 right here. So now let me just save that, and here you can see that error is now gone. Now if I run my code, so it's going to give us like 10 and 20 right here, which is totally expected. But now let's suppose if I want to provide some sort of a string right here for this function, or you know, let me just duplicate that. I'm going to change the name of that to like, come on, let me just change the name of that to something else. Oh my god. I'm going to just provide like 3 right here, and I'm going to also provide 4 right here. But let's suppose if I want to work with a string like 1, and also I want to work with the 2 as well. Okay, so now instead of providing the num1 and num2, I'm going to just write like num3 and also the num4 right here. You already know like what it will give us. So now let me just save my file and run that. So it's gonna throw us an error like cannot use the 1 untyped string constant as an int value in the argument of the print number function. And same will goes for the number 2 right here. So that's not acceptable. Like here you can see we are providing the integer right here. We are just returning the integer and also the integer, like both of these values should be the integer or number, whatever you want to call that. And here you can see we're now specifying the 1 as a string and also the 2 as a string as well. So that's why it's going to give us an error. Okay, so you know what, I'm going to just delete that right here. I'm going to uncomment this line out. Now let me just create yet another function right here. I'm going to give a name of like I'm going to give a name of like print string right here. And it's not going to do anything. Or you know, I'm going to just duplicate that code again and again because I don't want to waste your time. Now let me just duplicate that. Or you know, instead of giving it the name of like print number, I'm going to give a name of like print string. Come on, print string. It's going to take that item and also their default value as a string, and string as well, string yet again. And now let me just duplicate that, and now let me just create one for the boolean as well. So print bool, or boolean rather. And I'm going to change this one to bool, and also this one to bool, and also this one to bool as well. So now let me just go back, and now we are creating a 3 function to do the exact same thing but we are now just changing the types right here. So this function is doing the exact thing, this function and also this function, like all of them are doing the exact same thing. But here you can see for this function we just want to return the integer, for this function we just want to return a string, for this function we just only want to return the boolean values right here. And what are we doing? Like we're just defining three functions for doing the same thing, but we are just providing a different value or different parameter to that. Okay, so we already used that. I'm gonna just duplicate this line of code a few times. I'm gonna change this one to number 3, this one to number 4, and I'm gonna also change this one to number 5 and this one to number 6, and I'm going to just provide like 30, and this one will be 40, and I'm going to provide like 50, and this one will oh, not like that. Oh my god, what the hell am I doing? This one will take a string, so I'm gonna just specify like some sort of a string like a 1 right here, and this one will also take the 2, and this one is taking a boolean, so I'm going to write a true and also the false right here. Now let me just write like from.println right here, and I'm going to specify like num1 and num2, and now let me just duplicate that a few times. I'm going to just provide like number of 3 and also the number of 4 as well. Now let me just write a number of 5 and the number of 6. So if I just save my file and run my code, what the hell am I doing, Hosen? You are sleeping. Now let me just copy this name and print that right here. I'm going to also copy this boolean name right here, and I'm going to execute these specific variables right here. Okay, so now if I run my code, so what are we getting? We are now getting the numbers, the strings, and also the booleans as well. But that's not a great way to write our code. Like here you can see we are doing the exact same thing, but we are just providing the values totally different. Like we are providing an integer, we are providing a string, and we're also providing a boolean as well. And that's not it. Like let's suppose if you have like a huge amount of code inside this function, so we would have to duplicate the same amount of code 3 times or maybe a lot of times just to provide a different data types right here. But we don't want that, and the solution is, you guessed it, we are going to be working with the generic functions. Okay, so I'm going to just comment this line out, or you know what, let me just comment this entire code right here, and I'm going to provide my separator right here like that. I'm going to use like hello instead of providing this from.println right here. Now let me just create first of all the generic function. Okay, I'm going to also remove this import right here, and I'm going to just write like my, or you know, first generic, come on, generic, my first generic function. So now let me just create my function right here, and the syntax will be totally the same, like exactly the same. So I'm gonna just write like print item right here, and it's gonna be taking the same parameter of like item and also the default value as well. And the special thing about generic functions are the, what do you call it, here you can see the special thing about generic functions are the type parameters. Okay, so here you can see we are now providing the parameter for this specific function, but let's suppose if we also want to provide a parameter for a types as well. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? Well, we don't have to do nothing, but we just have to write a opening bracket and closing bracket right here. Oh, let me just write a closing bracket right here, and here you can write a type. You can write anything you want right here, but usually people write either a type or they just abbreviate that to only T right here, which means like a type, and you have to explicitly specify the any type right here. Now this function can be used with any type. Okay, so how in the world we are going to be doing that? Now we define our type right here, so we have to use this type somewhere inside our function body right here. So what in the world are we going to be returning from this function? So for this function we are now returning the int, for this function we are now returning the string, for this function we are now returning the boolean. So what do we have to do? So we have to just write these parentheses right here. So I'm going to just write t comma t. Okay, so we are going to be just returning the type of any, like this one will be any type, and this one can also be any type right here. Okay, and we can even also use that right here, like for this one, come on, for this one we are using the int, for this one we are using a string, for this one we are using a boolean. So we can also specify our t right here if you wanted to. Okay, so that's that. Now let me just return that same item, and I'm going to also return their default value, and that's it, baby. I'm going to just cut that from here. And this is how we are going to be defining our first generic function right here. We don't have to do nothing, but just this syntax is a bit new right here. This is something called the type parameter right here. Let me just say that once again. this, come on, what the hell am I doing? This, let me just highlight that. This is the actual function parameter area right here, and this is the type parameter area right here. Like here, we are going to be specifying some sort of a value for a specific type, and here we are going to be specifying some sort of a value for our function. Okay, so now we successfully register or define our first generic function right here. I'm going to copy the name of that, and now let me just use the inside my main function right here. I'm going to go back. Let's just remove these empty spaces from here, and what I want to do is that I'm going to just write like num1 and also num2 right here. It's going to be equals to this print item function right here, and in this case, what in the world we have to specify right here? So now in this case, we have to specify the value for the item, and we can also specify value for this default value right here. So I'm going to just write like 10 comma 20 right here. So if I just log that to the console like form.println right here, so I'm going to just write like num1 comma num2 right here if I save my file. And what are we getting? We are not getting any errors right here. Like here you can see we are just providing a number right here, and we are not even getting any errors. So let me just run my code. So it's going to give us 10 and 20. Yep, that was the first check. Now let me just duplicate this line of code. Well, you know what, I'm not going to duplicate this line of code. I'm going to just give a name of like stir1 and stir2 right here. It's going to be equals to that same generic function. And here you can see I forgot to show you that, but you can also explicitly provide a types right here if you wanted to. But if you forgot to do that, like here in this case I forgot to do that, so it will just automatically infer the types which we are specifying right here inside this function call. Okay, so what I want to do is that I'm going to just write a hello for the first one, and I'm going to also just write a word for the second one. So now let me just duplicate that. I'm going to just write stir1, and here in this case I'm going to just write stir2 right here for this string 2. Now let me just save my file, and now let me just run that. So it's going to give us the hello word right here. Okay, so yeah, that's cool, but let me just do that for the booleans as well. So I'm going to just write like bool1 and bool2 right here, and it's going to be coming from this this print item right here, so we can explicitly define our types right here inside these brackets. So you can think about that as like an argument for our types. So this is the parameter for a type, and this is the argument for a type. So if you want to provide that, so you totally can, but if you don't want to provide that, so you don't have to. So in this case I'm going to just write like bool comma bool. So here you can see it's not going to complain. So in this case I'm going to just specify like, oh, you know what, I'm not providing double values. I'm going to just remove this one. In this case we are only providing one type right here. So in this case we just have to provide only one type. So I'm going to just write like true comma false right here. Okay, so if I just save that, let me just duplicate that right here, and I'm going to just write like bool1, and this one will be bool2 right here. So if I save my file and run that, so it's going to also gives us that true and false right here. Okay, so now let me just clear that out, and let me just show you that for the rest of them, because I forgot to show you that. I'm going to copy them and place it right here. I'm going to just explicitly define my type of string right here. But let's suppose if I just write like bool, so if I just write bool, so what are we getting? We are now getting this error. Like here you can see you cannot use a hello as a string because you are now explicitly defining the boolean value right here. So we can totally remove that if you wanted to, or we can just use like string right here. Okay, and I'm not gonna even bother for this one because you already get the idea. So yeah, now let me just go back, and now let me just show you every single thing from scratch. So here you can see we are now defining 3 functions to do exactly the same thing, but we have to just specify different values right here. Okay, and this is how we're going to be creating instances of that. But you can I forgot to change the name of them to be like stir1 or stir2 and bool1 and bool2, but you can totally do that if you wanted to. And yeah, this is how we are going to be defining our generic function. This is how we are going to be using our generic function. If you want to explicitly provide a type like this way, you totally can, but you don't have to. So yeah, that was just about generic functions. And now let me just discuss this one right here. Okay, so here you can see we have a generic function which is taking the type of any, and we are now passing that type as a string array right here. And now here you can see we're now just iterating over through all of that array, and we are not getting the index, but we are getting the value, and we are just printing that value right here. Okay, so you know, let me just copy this code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. I'm going to copy this entire array, or not array, but that entire code. Now let me just go back. So here you can see we can use it for the slices as well. Like here you can see we're now providing the slice of number, and we are now providing the slice of arrays right here. I mean like the slice of strings. Why am I saying array? Now if I just run that, so it's going to give us that same number, and it's going to also give us that array right here. Okay, so this is how we're going to be iterating over through all of that stuff, and this is how you can also provide a slices as well. So yeah, that was just the basic definition and the basics of generics. And next we are going to be learning about something called a Goroutines in Golang. Alrighty, so now let's talk about a Goroutines in Golang. So Goroutine is a lightweight independently running function that allows the concurrent execution in a program, and it's like a many thread managed by a Go runtime and making it easy to run multiple tasks simultaneously. And Goroutines are a key feature for concurrent programming in Golang. Okay, so that was just the actual definition of what a Goroutines are, and now let's talk about the characteristics of Goroutines. So it allows us to work with the concurrency, low overhead, concurrency with shared memory, and also the language level support as well. Okay, so how the syntax gonna look like, this is how the syntax gonna look like. So we just have to write a go result keyword and then the function call, and it's gonna make it a Goroutine. Okay, so now let's talk about the characteristics. So concurrency, and Goroutine lets you do multiple things at the same time in a straightforward way, and it's like a juggling several tasks without dropping any balls. If you don't get it, don't sweat it, I'm gonna tell you that. And low overhead, Goroutines are like very lightweight helper that don't take up much space, and you have lots of them in your program without getting too heavy. Okay, this is also something which you're going to be defining in a few seconds. And concurrency with shared memory, and Goroutine communicate and synchronize using a shared memory via channels. Channels are something which is a bit out topic from the Goroutines. I mean, like, both of them are totally connected, but we're not going to be talking about channels, not right now. And yeah, making it easy to coordinate the execution of the concurrent tasks. And the final one we have is a language level support. So you can think about a Goroutines as like a little workers provided by a Go language itself, and you don't have to worry about the complicated details because the Go language help you manage them easily. And it's like having a team of workers that already know how to cooperate. Okay, so if you want to like work with a Goroutine, so you just have to write a go result keyword, and then you have to write a function call. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? This is how we are going to be doing that. So what I want to do is that I'm going to just remove this coding from here. I'm going to also remove that, and I'm going to leave that one there. So the first thing which we have to do is that we have to create some sort of a function. Then we're going to be making that function as a Goroutine. So I'm going to just create a function given name of like print numbers, and it's not going to do anything, but we're going to be just writing like for I is equals to 1 and I is less than or equals to 5 and I plus plus, and inside there we're going to be just using like time.sleep to just take a bit of time. So I'm going to just write like 100 milliseconds. So I'm going to just use like time.milliseconds right here. So we want this function to take a bit of time, and I'm going to explain why we are doing that in a few seconds. But now let me just write like printf right here, printf in lowercase, and here we just have to specify the d, and now I'm going to just specify their index right here. Okay, so now we successfully create that. I'm going to just copy the name of that, and I'm going to execute that right here. So I'm going to just provide the print numbers, and I'm going to just save my file right here. Let's just go back. I'm going to just save my file. I'm not going to do anything else, and let me just cut these empty spaces from there. Now let me just run that. So you already know what it gives us. It's going to give us like 1 2 3 4 and 5 right here as expected. So yeah, this is how we are going to be creating a function. You guys already know that. But now if you want to make this function as a Goroutine, so what do you have to do for that? Well, we just have to write a go result keyword in the beginning, and then we are going to be calling our function, and there we go. This is our first Goroutine right here. And what I want to do is that I'm going to just save this file. And now let me just save this file, and let's just see what's going to happen if I run my code right here, and we are not getting anything right here. Why is that? So what in the world are we currently doing? This function is taking a bit of time, but this function is not waiting for anyone. This function is going to just run instantly. So if you want to make this function to wait for this function call, so for that we have to just write like time.sleep right here. So I'm going to just use like time.sleep. So this is not going to be the best solution for this case, but later we are going to be learning about something called the waitGroups. We are not there yet, so I'm not going to even bother explaining them right here. But anyways, I want you to just keep in mind like this is not the best way to handle this situation right here. So I'm going to just write 1 second times time.seconds right here. Okay, so if I just write that, and I'm going to also write some sort of a message right here like form.println this is the main function call or something like that. I'm gonna just provide that, save my file and run my code. So let's just wait for that. So here you can see, first of all, we are getting like this is the main function call, and then we are now getting that function call like this print number function call right here. Like we're now getting 1 2 3 4 and 5. So yeah, this is how we are going to be defining our function. This is how we are going to be making our function as a goroutine. This is how we are going to be delaying this function to wait for this function to run. Okay, so yeah, later we are going to be learning about something called the waitGroups, and we're not going to be even using this time.sleep there. But anyways, so yeah, this was our first goroutine in Golang. Alright guys, so now let's talk about the channels in Golang. So what in the world are channels and why you should care about that? So channel in Go are like communication pipe between different part of your program, and they let different pieces of your code talk to each other by sending and receiving messages. And it's like passing a notes or messages between friends to coordinate what needs to be done. Okay, so here you can see we have analogy right here. Like imagine you have two friends working on a project, and one friend can put notes on a channel and the other friend can pick it up, and this helps them share information and work together without getting each other's way. And this is what channels do in Golang as well. They help different part of your program to communicate smoothly. Okay, so now let me just explain that other analogy right here. So now let's just talk about how in the world we are going to be creating a channel. So creating a channel is like making a special mailbox for messages, and you can use the make function, which we've already learned, to create this mailbox. It's like setting up a mailbox with a specific type of messages it can hold. So this is how the syntax gonna look like. So first of all, we are going to be creating some sort of variable. Then we are going to be using the make method, and inside this make method, we are going to be just providing, let me just zoom in a bit. We are going to be just providing this chain, and then the type of value which this chain is going to be holding, like this channel is going to be holding. You can provide a data type of int, the float 64, or I don't know, strings and numbers. I mean, like there are a lot of them. Okay, so yeah, this is how we are going to be creating a channel, and this is how we are going to be passing a data to our channel. Okay, so here you can see we are going to be using this less than sign and then this dash, and it's going to allow us to send some sort of a data to this variable right here. In this case, we are just sending, or you can say storing, this 20 data inside our channel right here. Okay, so that's that. And now if you want to receive some sort of a data from your channel, the syntax will be totally the same. So the first thing which you have to do is that you have to write the same syntax right here, like less than, and also this dash right here, then your channel name right here. Okay, and then we're going to be passing this data inside this result variable right here. So yeah, and we're going to be also learning about unbuffered and buffered channel a bit later, but we are not there yet. So now let me just write some code, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just hide this upper bar from here. Alrighty, so now let's talk about how in the world we are going to be creating a channel. So I'm going to just create a variable given name of like ch for channel, and then I'm going to use my make method, and inside this make method I'm going to be passing my channel. So if I wanted to create a channel, so I'm going to just write this chain result keyword. Then I have to specify some sort of a type of data which we are going to be providing for this channel right here. So in this case, I'm going to just provide the integer right here because I want to just make everything a bit smoothly. The next thing which you have to do is that we have to create some sort of a goroutine so that we can send our data. So I'm going to just create a function right here. I'm going to give it a name of like send data, and inside this function it's going to take one parameter of ch, like some sort of a channel, and I'm going to just specify this chain right here, and we are going to be sending the data of integer right here. Now inside that, what do we want to do? We just want to send some sort of a data for our channel. So I'm going to just write that parameter name which we are passing right here inside this function, which is ch, and I'm going to just send some sort of a data. So if I want to send some sort of a data for my channel, so I'm going to just write this less than sign and then this dash and then whatever value I want to send. So in this case, I'm going to just send like 20, and there we go. So this is how we are going to be creating our function. Now let's just make it as a go routine. So I'm going to just write like go and then this send data right here. And here, what do you want to do? Here in this case, we are passing, or we are taking the input or the parameter of this channel right here. So here we have to pass some sort of a channel as an argument to this function right here. So we already create our channel right here. I'm going to copy that and place that right here, and there we go. So now we successfully register our go routine as well. So the next thing that you want to do is that we want to receive that data right here. So first of all, we are just creating some sort of a channel. Then we are just sending some sort of a data to our channel Now let's learn about how in the world we are going to be getting this 20 data from our channel, like how in the world we are going to be receiving that data from our channel. So I'm going to just write this less than sign and then this dash and then my channel name right here. Now we successfully received this data, but we have to store this data in some sort of a variable. So I'm going to just write like value, and it's going to be equals to this channel value right here. Now I'm going to just write like from.println. Let me just go back and I'm going to just write like received, and here I'm going to just pass my value right here. Okay, so if I save my file, so it's going to auto import this fun package for me. Now I'm going to just save my file and run that. So we are going to be just getting like received 20 value right here. And there we go. This is how we are going to be creating a channel. This is how we are going to be sending some sort of a data for our channel. This is how we are going to be receiving a data from that channel. And this is how we are going to be outputting that data right here. So that was just the basics of channel. And now let's learn about what on earth is unbuffered and also buffered channel. So now let's just discuss that first one, which is called the unbuffered channel right here. So an unbuffered channel has a capacity of 0. I did not explain what a capacity is, but I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. And each send operation on an unbuffered channel blocks until there is a corresponding receive operation and vice versa. And this creates a direct synchronous communication between the sender and the receiver. On the other hand, on the buffer channel, the capacity should be greater than 0, and it allows multiple values to send into a channel without an immediate corresponding receiver. And sending operation on a buffer channel block only when the buffer is full, and receive operation block only when the buffer is empty. Okay, so that was just a basic introduction of what a buffer and unbuffered channels are. Now let me just write some code for that, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just delete this code. I'm going to also remove this coding from here. And let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. Let me also remove these spaces from here. And the first thing which I want to do is that I want to create some sort of an unbuffered channel right here, which will have the capacity of 0. So I'm going to just write like unbuffered. Come on, CHANNEL, there we go. And I'm going to just write like unbuffered and ch for short of channel. And I'm going to just create my channel by using my make method. Here I'm going to just specify the chan result keyword, and we are going to be getting the data as an integer. So this is the unbuffered channel. Why is that? Because we are not specifying any capacity to it right here. So if I just remove that, this is unbuffered channel. So now let me just create a buffered channel right here. So I'm going to just give a name of like BUFFERED CH, like buffered, or you know what, buffered channel with a capacity of 2. Okay, so I'm going to just write like BUFFERED. The spelling is a bit awful, so that's why I'm saying it, and sometimes it can be a lot challenging while typing and speaking. So I'm going to just write a chan, and we're going to be getting the string data right here as a data type. And now let me just specify the capacity. So in this case, I'm going to just specify the capacity of 2. So this is how we're going to be creating the channel. This is how we are going to be creating an unbuffered channel, and this is how we are going to be creating a buffered channel right here. So now let me just define two Goroutines, which will allow us to send some sort of a data to our buffered and unbuffered channel. So I'm going to just write go, and yep, and this is how we are going to be creating our Goroutine or anonymous Goroutine right here. And in this case, what we have to do, we just have to write like unbuffered channel right here, and we are going to be just providing the data of like, I don't know, maybe 20 would be fine. And here, let me just create one more Goroutine right here, and if I hit enter, and there we go. So now inside there, we are going to be also providing a data for the buffer channel as well. And I'm going to just provide the value of string right here, because in this case we are taking a string. So here we have to specify some sort of a string right here like hello. I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to also write a word. Why is that? Because here we are providing the capacity of 2. That's why we are now providing 2 values to it. Okay, so if you want to close our buffer, if you want to close our channel, so for that we are going to be using this close method, and here inside there we are going to be specifying our channel. So I'm going to just copy them and place it right here, and this is how we are going to be closing our buffer right here. So now underneath that, this is how we are going to be provide. Let me just say that once again. This is how we are going to be creating an unbuffered channel. This is how we are going to be creating a buffered channel. This is how we are going to be providing a data for the unbuffered channel. This is how we are going to be providing a data for the buffered channel. And now we are going to be getting a data from the unbuffered channel right here. So I'm going to just write like, let me just write a value right here. And we are going to be getting a data first of all from the unbuffered channel right here. And let's just print this. So I'm going to use like print from.println and received from unbuffered And here let me just provide a comma and provide a value right here. Let me just go back and let's just remove that indentation. And also you know what, let me just save that. Let me just save that right here, and everything is okay. But now let me just run my file. So it's gonna give us receive from an unbuffered channel the value of 20 right here. Let me just run that once again so you guys can see everything a bit better. So here you can see it's going to give us that message which we are providing right here, and it's going to also give us that value from the unbuffered channel. So that's that. Now the next thing which you want to do is that we want to iterate over through all of that buffered channel right here, and we're going to be logging that value again and again, or separately to be precise, not again and again. So I'm going to just iterate over through all of that buffered channel by using my range method, or not even a method but a range way. So I'm going to just write a for result keyword, and we are going to be providing the variable name of a message. And let me just use my range, and here I'm going to just specify the buffer channel, and inside this buffer channel we are going to be just writing like from.println and received from buffer channel right here. Okay, and now here we have to just specify that message. So it's going to give us hello and also that word right here. So if I run that, so it's going to give us first of all that receive unbuffered value which is 20, and then receive from the buffer channel hello, and then receive from the buffer channel once again word right here. Okay, so yeah, that was just the basic definition and the basics of channels in Golang. So now let's talk about waitGroups in Golang. So here is the analogy for that. So imagine you have a group of friends working on a different task, and you want to make sure that everyone finishes before moving on. And a wait group is like a coordinator or a counter that help you wait for all of your friends to complete their tasks. So we're going to be dividing that into a few categories, like add a friend to your group, then friends start their task, then wait for all of the friends to finish, and there we go. That's a wait group. So how in the world we are going to be doing that? You add your friend like a Goroutine to the wait group before they start their task. So how in the world you are going to be doing that? Let me just zoom in a bit. You're going to be creating some sort of a variable. In this case, I just give a name of like WG for waitGroups, and we are going to be grabbing our wait group from this sync package, which I'm going to show you in a few seconds. Then our friends start their tasks. So your friends start working on their task like a Goroutine. And if you want to add one friend to your group, so for that we are going to be using that same variable name, and we have a method called add, and then we have to specify how many Goroutines you have to wait for, or adding a friend to your group, whatever you want to call that. And then we have a Goroutine right here, and inside that we're just using a deferred result keyword. I mean, like, it's gonna wait for all of that other stuff to finish. Then finally we're going to be using like WG, and we have this done method on there, and WG is a wait group, and we have our done method on there. So it's going to wait for all of that things, and if all of that things are successfully done, then we're going to be just completing or doneing, whatever you want to call that, or wait group. So when the task is done, tell the wait group, and this is how we're going to be telling our wait group. And then finally you have to wait for all of your friends to finish their task. So you wait for your friend to finish their task by using this wait method right here. So wait until all of your friends are done. So here is yet another definition, like the wait group is like a helpful friend that keeps track of your tasks. So when a friend finishes their task, they say, "I'm done, baby." And the wait group listens, and you wait until all of your friends say they are done before moving on. It helps ensure that everything is completed before you proceed with the next step of your program. Okay, so there was a lot of theory, I know that. So now let me just write some code, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now I'm gonna just remove that coding from here, and yeah, I guess that's it. So the first thing that you have to do is that we have to grab the sync package. It's gonna do it for us like totally automatically, but I'm just showing you that right here. The next thing which you have to do is that we have to create our wait group right here. So I'm gonna just write a var result keyword. I'm gonna give a name of like WG for wait group, and I'm gonna be getting that stuff from that. I'm gonna be getting that wait group from this sync package which I already import right here. So we have this sync package, and I'm gonna just write a dot and wait, come on, not right, but wait group. So here you can see this is how we are going to be creating our wait group right here. Okay, so the next thing which you have to do is that we have to wait for all of our Goroutines right here. Okay, so I'm gonna just write like WG, that same variable name or that same wait group name right here, and we have a built-in method right here which is called add. So it's gonna wait for all of that Goroutines. So in this case I'm gonna be working with 3 Goroutines or 3 friends to complete their tasks. So here you can see we're going to be adding 3 friends right here. If you want to think in that terms, so you can think about friends right here. Yeah, I'm gonna just even write a comment like add the number of go routines you're waiting for. Okay, so here we are going to be adding the number of go routines in which we are going to be waiting for. So we are going to be waiting for 3 go routines. So now let me just create a go routine right here. Okay, then we are going to be waiting for that. So I'm going to just create a function. Come on, func. What the hell? And I'm going to give a name of like print message, and it's going to take like that same go routine right here, and we are going to be using our pointer to get that wait group right here, or the address of that wait group right here. And the next parameter which we are going to be passing is a message, and it's going to be a string as well, and we're not going to be returning anything. So I'm going to just write like from.println of that message. But up above them, what we have to do, we have to use the defer result keyword, and finally we are going to be just writing like wg.done, and this method will only run when all of their tasks are totally completed. So that's why I put this defer result keyword right here. Okay, so that's that. Now let me just create my go routine right here. This is how we create a function. Now we have to make it as a go routine. So for that we are going to be using the go result keyword, and I'm going to be just writing like a print message right here. Here we are providing that what do we call it, that address. So we have to get a value from that address. So for that we are going to be using this AND operator right here, and then here we have to specify their wait group right here, which we are already declaring right here. And I'm going to also provide a comma, and the next thing which you have to do is that we have to provide some sort of a value for the second parameter, which is a message. So I'm going to just provide a message of like, I don't know, hello would be fine. And we are going to be waiting for 3 wait groups. So I'm going to just duplicate this line of code like 3 times, and I'm going to just change the value of there to like go, and this one to like, I don't know, wait group or something like that. So hello go wait group. So I'm going to just write my next method, which will be wg.wait right here. Okay, so I'm going to just execute there right here, and it's going to wait for all the go routines if I can spell that today. It's going to wait for all of the go routines to finish. Okay, so that's there. And finally we are going to be just writing like from.println, and I'm going to just say like all messages printed right here. Okay, this is going to be just our message. And yeah, now if I save my file, let me just go back. If I save my file and run there, so it's going to give us, first of all, it's going to give us the wait group, then it's going to give us hello, then it's going to give us the go, and all messages are printed. So if I just rerun that once again, so it's going to give us that same message right here. Okay, so yeah, that was just the basics of Go routines in Go. Oh, not coroutines, but that was just the basics of wait groups in Go. So now let's talk about a select statement in Golang. So the select statement is used to handle multiple channels in a non-blocking way, and it provides a way to wait on a multiple communication operation simultaneously and execute the first case that is ready. So here is the analogy, like imagine you have several friends sending you messages and you want to read whatever message comes first. And a select statement is like a way to check all of your messages and respond to only the first one that arrives. Okay, so you can think about a select statement is like what do we call it, a switch statement, but for channels. Okay, so this is the basic syntax of that. So now let me just write some code, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So now let me just remove this function and also these Go routines and all of that stuff from here, and also this sync package as well. I'm gonna save my file, and now let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. The first thing which I want to do is I want to create 2 channel like ch1, and it's going to be a make. And first I'm going to provide a chan, it's going to be a string. Now let me just duplicate that and change the name of that to the channel2. The next thing which I want to do is I want to create 2 Go routines. So I'm going to just create a function, and let's just remove all of that stuff from there. Okay, like that. And I'm going to be making a Go routine, so I'm going to have to provide this Go result keyword, and now inside there we're going to be just waiting. So I'm going to use like time.sleep and wait for 2 seconds or milliseconds. Yeah, 2 seconds would be fine. So I'm going to be using like time.second. Oh, what the hell was that? Time.second, there we go. Oh my god, what the hell am I doing right now? And now let me just send some sort of a data to my channel. So for the ch1 we are going to be sending this data, which is like message from channel 1 would be fine. And here we have to also execute that immediately, and underneath that we're going to be creating yet another Go routine right here, but I'm going to just duplicate that right here, and I'm going to just wait for that like for 4 seconds right here, and message from the channel 2. Okay, so now if I save my file, and this one should be channel 2 right here rather than a channel 1. Now I'm gonna go back underneath these Go routines. we are going to be working with our select. So I'm going to just provide a select right here and curly braces, and just like a switch and cases, we're going to be also writing a case right here. So we are going to be receiving some sort of a data from our channel 1 right here, from a channel 1. So I'm going to just store that inside a message 1, and it's going to be coming from the first channel. So I'm going to just give a name of like ch1 and provide my separator right here. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to just use like from.print line of receive channel 1 right here. And now I'm going to just write a message 1 right here, and there we go. If I save my file, so it's going to auto import this pump package right here. The next thing which I want to do is that I want to also get a data from the message, or not a message, but from the channel 2. So I'm going to just write like message 2, and we are going to be getting the data from my channel 2 right here. In this case, I'm going to just copy that and place that right here. Just change that to message 2, and also change this one to message 2 as well. And inside this select, we don't have any default case, so for that we're going to be using like case, and here we have to just write like time.after, and we are going to be just writing like 5 seconds. We are going to be waiting for 5 seconds, and time dot second would be fine right here. And now inside there, what do you have to do? I'm gonna just copy them, place that right here, and as a message I'm gonna provide like, I don't know, like no communication ready or something like that. No communication ready this time, or ready would be fine, I guess. I'm gonna just save my file and go back. So here you can see what are we currently doing is that we are just creating a 2 channels right here. Then we are creating a 2 Goroutines, and inside these Goroutines we are just waiting for like 2 seconds. In the first Goroutine we are just waiting for 2 seconds to send data to our channel 1. Then we are waiting for 4 seconds to send our data to our channel 2 right here. And then here we are just checking, so if you are getting some sort of a data from this channel 1, so we are going to be just printing this to the console like receive from a channel 1, and we're going to be also like printing their same data which we are getting right here. And when that's done, so it's not going to run these cases right here, but if this one is taking a lot of time and this one is not taking that much time, so it's going to run this code. So it's going to skip this first one and also this last one. But if all of them are taking a lot of time, so it's going to finally just like after 5 seconds going to run this code right here, or this result to be precise. So now let me just run my code and see what's going to happen. So it's going to wait for 2 seconds, and it's going to give us like receive from channel 1, message from the channel 1 baby. Why are we getting that? Because it is now taking 2 seconds, and this one is taking 4 seconds, and this one is taking 5 seconds. So it's going to just only run this first one right here. It's not going to run this one. It's not going to run this final one. So you know what, instead of providing this 2, I'm going to change it to 22 right here. So it's going to take like 22 seconds. This one is going to take only 4 seconds, or you know, let me just change this one to 2 seconds right here. And this one is going to take 5 seconds, so it's going to run this code right here. So if I save my file and run that, so data received from this channel 2 and message from channel 2 right here. And by the way, if I just provide like, I don't know, 22 for this one, so this one is going to take 22 seconds, this one is going to take 22 seconds, but this one is not going to take 22 seconds. It's going to only take 5 seconds. So it's going to give us the result of this one right here after 5 seconds. So if I save my file and run that, so we gotta wait for 5 seconds, and then finally it's gonna give us like no communication ready. So you can think about that as like a, come on, you can think about that as like a default statement in a switch and cases. Okay, so here you can see we're now getting no communication ready, and that was it about Goroutines and concurrent programming in Golang.